The thick morning fog echoes with the clear sound of silver bells. Two travelers cloaked in black robes adorned with auspicious clouds approach slowly from the distance. Their unidentified presence subtly exudes a threat. The guards of Konohagakure speak up to inquire, upon which Itachi looks up, revealing Kurenai's fervent eyes. The next second, the guard falls into a deep sleep. The village is filled with damaged walls, broken beams, and houses under renovation. Konohamaru emerges from the sorrow of his grandfather's death, greeting his two teammates, and embarks on his own path of growth. After some searching, the Sand Shinobi finally find the body of the Kazekage. Meanwhile, Orochimaru, lurking in the shadows, licks his wounds. In this battle, he has killed both the Hokage and the Kazekage. Regrettably, he has paid the price of losing both arms and all his ninjutsu. Fortunately, he has already placed a collar on Sasuke. The cursed seal's restraint will help him securely lock in this vessel. Inside Konohagakure's public bathhouse, Jiraiya, at an opportune spot, gathers what he calls writing materials. He internalizes the pain of losing his teacher. Then, Homura and Koharu approach him, suggesting that Jiraiya become the next Hokage to lead Konohagakure forward. However, the freedom-loving Jiraiya decisively rejects the proposal. Instead, he redirects the problem, recommending Tsunade, one of the legendary Sannin, soon to make her first appearance. Jiraiya promises the advisors that he will find Tsunade, and for this mission, he has chosen only one person, Naruto. Soon, Jiraiya finds Naruto eating ramen, and upon explaining his purpose, Naruto is quite unwilling, showing no interest in Tsunade as described by Jiraiya. Thus, Jiraiya changes his excuse, taking him to train in a ninjutsu even more powerful than Chidori. Naruto, intrigued, immediately follows. Itachi and Kisame, under the guise of their straw hats, dine in a street-side eatery. Unfortunately, they are spotted by Kakashi, who signals to the oncoming Asuma and Kurenai. The others intuitively understand, and as the problematic figures multiply, though their food is unfinished, Itachi opts to retreat first. Thus, Sasuke, arriving late, just misses his brother. On a quiet riverbank, Asuma and Kurenai block Itachi's path, inquiring about their purpose in Konohagakure. At the moment the straw hat is lifted, Itachi's unique Sharingan is immediately recognized by Asuma, Konohagakure's once unparalleled genius, now an S-rank rogue ninja. Itachi, aloof and blunt, tells Asuma to mind his own business, as he does not wish to kill. But Asuma, unwilling to let such a major criminal escape, stands his ground. After a standoff, Kisame strikes first, battling Asuma. What seems like a simple blow nearly overwhelms Asuma. Kurenai takes this opportunity to deploy a genjutsu. Asuma is secretly shocked at the sheer power of the opponent's great sword. Kisame then draws his Samahada, immediately revealing its spiky surface and wounding Asuma's arm. As Asuma is at a disadvantage, Kurenai's genjutsu completes just in time. Kisame, about to attack again, finds himself immobilized. But Itachi remains indifferent. For the moment of Kurenai's genjutsu success is also when he begins his counterattack. Kurenai, thinking she has the upper hand, prepares to strike Itachi, but the scene suddenly changes. 1 second, Itachi is bound to a tree. The next, it is Kurenai who is tied up. Itachi brandishes a kunai and lunges at Kurenai. In a crucial moment, Kurenai bites her lip to break free, narrowly avoiding the strike. But then, she is kicked away by Itachi. Just as she stabilizes herself on the river surface, Itachi silently appears behind her. As the situation becomes critical, fortunately, Kakashi arrives just in time to help. On the other side, Asuma also faces a dire situation. Kisame's attacks are fierce, forcing him back repeatedly. Kisame, somewhat infuriated, prepares his water release, water dragon bullet technique. But almost simultaneously, Kakashi uses his shuriken to counter Kisame's attack with the same technique, while his real body sneaks up with a kunai to restrain him. Former comrades now facing each other in battle, Itachi speaks out to Kisame, advising against prolonging the fight. To avoid too much commotion and difficulty in escaping, after all, their nominal objective was merely to gather some intelligence. During the conversation, Itachi used shuriken as bait to distract Kakashi's attention. But Kakashi also reacted quickly. He leaped back to create distance and used Suiton, Suijin Heiki, blocking the sudden Suiton attack. Equally skilled as former Anbu, yet Itachi's speed in casting ninjutsu was incredibly fast. Unbeknownst to Kakashi, a shadow clone had already appeared behind him. However, Kakashi was well prepared. Kakashi, submerged in water, moved beneath Itachi. He did not act rashly, but took the opportunity to rescue Kurenai. The next second, the massive shockwave creating towering waves. Seeing this, Asuma rushed into the water curtain anxiously. After the explosion subsided, Kakashi and the others gasped heavily, still in shock. Although Kakashi could skillfully use the Sharingan, his body could not withstand the excessive strain it caused. Itachi was well aware of this, so he decided to let Kakashi experience the true power of the Uchiha clan's Kekkei Genkai. He activated the Mangekyu Sharingan, casting the inescapable Genjutsu Tsukuyomi. Seeing this, Kakashi urgently told Asuma and Kurenai to close their eyes, to absolutely avoid direct eye contact with Itachi. In his view, probably only the Sharingan could counter another Sharingan. However, as Itachi's technique began, Kakashi's world turned to black and white, his body suddenly bound to a cross, with Itachi, wielding a blade, silently standing before him. He had invaded Kakashi's consciousness. Kakashi found himself in a dire predicament for the first time. In the world of Tsukuyomi, time, space, and matter were all under Itachi's control. Although it was a genjutsu, all sensations and pain felt incredibly real, capable of completely breaking the victim's mental defenses. Alongside intense pain, Kakashi finally returned to the real world. Unable to hold on any longer, he knelt on the water's surface. Meanwhile, Asuma and Kurenai still had their eyes tightly shut. Kakashi then realized that 3 days had passed in Tsukuyomi, but in reality, it was just a moment. A breeze moved Itachi's bangs, and the overstrained Itachi revealed their purpose, which was Naruto. Upon hearing this, Kakashi recalled what Jiraiya had said. According to Jiraiya's investigation, Orochimaru had joined an organization called Akatsuki, which, so far, had only engaged in gathering intelligence. However, all its members were S-ranked rogue ninja, wanted by various villages, including Itachi. Recently, Orochimaru had left Akatsuki, and since then, Akatsuki members started operating in pairs across regions, likely targeting Kurama. Therefore, Jiraiya decided to teach Kakashi how to use the Sharingan quickly to Sasuke, while Naruto would be under his care. When Kakashi revealed they were Akatsuki members, Itachi and Kisame's expressions changed. For caution, they must take Kakashi for interrogation, while the two J-nin would be dealt with by Kisame. Fortunately, Guy arrived in time, kicking Kisame back to Itachi's side. Seeing Itachi, Guy showed no panic, instead instructing Asuma and Kurenai to open their eyes, and told them that facing Sharingan, one simply needed to avoid direct eye contact. By observing their opponent's feet, they could anticipate and counter their moves, something Guy, often sparring with Kakashi, was very experienced in. But he had no time to teach now, so he asked Kurenai to take Kakashi for treatment, while Asuma was to cover him until Anbu members arrived to reinforce. Kisame was ready to counterattack but was stopped by Itachi, who knew Guy was troublesome and understood that it was not suitable to linger. Thus, he and Kisame withdrew. Meanwhile, Naruto followed Jiraiya, planning a long-term training in the mountains, but Jiraiya intended to take him to meet Tsunade, telling Naruto to pack light. During this, Jiraiya's boasting was completely ignored by Naruto. Jiraiya led Naruto along a rural road, passing mountains, rivers, and temples, a rare, enjoyable time. The relationship between master and disciple, compared to the Bell test they had once undergone, was strikingly similar. The same mischievous, reckless attitude, the same unwillingness to admit defeat, the same having a genius-like cool teammate and an unrivaled goddess. Just like what type of master, such type of disciple, in Jiraiya's memory. Tsunade was still a young girl. Orochimaru was a quiet, good child. And the third Hokage, Hiruzen, was a genuine man. Everything was so wonderful. In Konohagakure, Sasuke saw Kakashi inexplicably lying on a hospital bed. Guy did not want to tell Sasuke the reality. Aoba, who burst in, did not notice Sasuke's presence. He blurted out that Itachi had returned to Konohagakure and was looking for Naruto. Upon hearing this, Sasuke lost control of his emotions on the spot. Concerned for Naruto's safety, he set out again to find his brother. Jiraiya settled Naruto into a small inn, and then stepped into the adult world himself. Seeing Jiraiya walking away with a short-skirted beauty, Naruto was very unhappy in the room. Naruto could only create a room full of shadow clones to accompany him in training. Jiraiya, faced with the embrace of the short-skirted beauty, was utterly delighted. Sasuke ran about everywhere, but this busy district had too many inns, and his cloning technique was not as powerful as Naruto's, so he had to inquire from door to door. However, Sasuke still found the wrong person. When the two opened the door at the same time, Sasuke saw a passerby, while Naruto saw the indifferent face of Itachi. Itachi's condescending demeanor put immense pressure on Naruto. The crisis of death had arrived. Naruto looked up to see a pair of Sharingan eyes staring straight at him, and he was extremely surprised. This person had eyes just like Sasuke's. Meanwhile, Sasuke was hurrying to this place. He already knew his brother was nearby. Although the family crest was shattered, hearing news of his brother again inevitably reminded Sasuke of those happy times. Back then, Sasuke liked to find various reasons to stay by Itachi's side. Although Itachi was busy, a small gesture, a next time Sasuke, always made him feel refreshed. Young Sasuke also asked his father why his brother always ignored him. The father could only tell him, "Your brother doesn't like to be close to people. Even I cannot see through him." The elders in the clan always praised his brother, a genius who activated Sharingan at the age of 8, truly the pride of the Uchiha clan. Whenever Sasuke thought of his brother graduating from school at his age, he always felt a slight sense of loss. But as a member of Konohagakure's noble family, he did not undervalue himself and always studied and trained seriously, until that night, Sasuke, returning home late, felt an inexplicable chill. The usually bustling streets were deadly silent that day. Turning the street corner, he was faced with the corpses of his clansmen. When Sasuke rushed back home, he saw the tragic scene of his parents' deaths. His brother, who had always loved him, changed his usual demeanor, and with a shuriken, revealed the doubts in his brother's heart. The brilliance of the Sharingan enveloped Sasuke's memories. In the illusion, the gruesome scene of his clansmen being killed appeared in his mind like a movie. Endless pain completely engulfed him. Seeing Itachi raising a blade against their parents, Sasuke finally collapsed. At that moment, the seed of hatred took root in his heart. Sasuke questioned Itachi why he had to harm his clansmen and parents. Itachi's answer was to test his own strength. Sasuke was completely enraged by this joke-like answer. He roared and charged at his brother. However, the gap in strength between them was too great. Powerless, Sasuke fell. His brother's coldness and strength finally broke through his last defenses. Under the cover of fear, Sasuke fled through the door, as if to escape from this hell shrouded in blood and fire. But Itachi, like a clinging shadow, once again blocked his path. Sasuke weakly begged his brother not to kill him. With disdain in his eyes, Itachi said, "You are not worth killing, my foolish little brother. If you want to kill me, hate me, resent me, and then live on, however ugly it may be." From then on, Sasuke harbored hatred for Itachi in his heart, until today, when he heard news of his brother again. On the other side, Naruto guessed that these two people were not ordinary. Kisame, to prevent Naruto from escaping, planned to chop off one of Naruto's legs. In a critical moment, Sasuke finally arrived. He hatefully called out his brother's name. With the same surname and the same eyes, hearing Itachi acknowledge that Sasuke was his brother, not only Naruto, even Kisame was somewhat surprised. He still thought Itachi had killed all the Uchiha clan members. In an instant, the two brothers activated their Sharingan. Sasuke, while recounting his hatred, activated Chidori, and then crazily charged towards Itachi. Itachi had already seen through the weakness of Chidori. As Sasuke approached, Itachi directly grabbed his wrist, thus diverting Sasuke's attack. Naruto, watching from the sidelines, was terrified. He began to hurriedly form seals, and Tailed Beast's chakra also rose continuously. Seeing Sasuke still struggling, Itachi exerted a little force and broke his arm. But Kisame's large sword swung, and the Tailed Beast's chakra instantly dissipated. Raising the large sword again, this time Kisame planned to first chop off his hand. Even though Naruto exerted all his strength, He could not muster any more power. At the critical moment, a puff of smoke arose and a toad appeared in front of Naruto. Jiraiya, who had been lured away, finally arrived. Jiraiya stated, "A man like me, how could I fall for a beauty trick? It's usually the women who come to me." The area fell silent at once. Naruto angrily accused his master, while Kisame knew in his heart that his opponent was one of the legendary Sannin, not someone to be fooled by such tricks. The use of genjutsu on the woman was just to temporarily distract Jiraiya from Naruto, as their real target was the tailed beasts inside Naruto, which Jiraiya was well aware of. Seeing this, Itachi finally understood that Kakashi knew about the Akatsuki organization because of Jiraiya. He patiently explained that taking Naruto was a mission given by the Akatsuki organization. Upon hearing this, Jiraiya immediately declared that he would not allow anyone to take away his beloved disciple. Moreover, he stated that this was the place where Itachi and Kisame would meet their end. However, Sasuke, who had gotten up from the ground, stopped Jiraiya, who was about to make a move. In his view, the only person qualified to kill Itachi was himself. Itachi didn't want to get entangled with Sasuke too much and kicked the angry Sasuke several meters away. Naruto was about to make a move, but was stopped again by Sasuke, who stated that he lived for the day when he could rightfully kill Itachi. However, with his current strength in front of Itachi, he could only take a beating. Itachi, using only the most basic taijutsu, beat Sasuke severely. Sasuke then realized that he was no different from himself that night. Itachi whispered in Sasuke's ear, "Why are you so weak? It's because your hatred for me is not enough." After saying this, a flash of light in his eyes threw Sasuke back into a genjutsu. For the next 24 hours, the scene of his parents being killed looped endlessly in his mind. Hearing Sasuke's screams, Jiraiya hurriedly formed a seal. The corridor was instantly enveloped in a layer of flesh. Jiraiya summoned the Great Toad's esophagus to block the area, intending to capture these two criminals at once. Itachi and Kisame, seeing the situation turn bad, prepared to escape. Jiraiya was very confident in his ninjutsu, as so far, no one had been able to escape from him. However, Itachi used Amaterasu to successfully burn through the poor Toad's esophagus and escape. After escaping, Kisame was very puzzled. With Itachi's strength, they didn't need to run. But Itachi explained that capturing Naruto was a matter that couldn't be rushed, and moreover, his body needed rest. Repeated use of Tsukuyomi and Amaterasu had brought his eyes to the verge of collapse. Meanwhile, Naruto curiously stared at the blazing black flames, but was sternly reprimanded by Jiraiya, who didn't know that these black flames were the Amaterasu. Faced with the unknown, he didn't dare to be careless, and pulled out a scroll to seal it. Afterward, he released the ninjutsu. Naruto then stepped forward to check on Sasuke, only to see that Sasuke's eyes were vacant, clearly having lost consciousness. Just as Jiraiya was about to check closer, only to meet a flying kick. Jiraiya was kicked so hard that blood spurted from his nose and mouth. Guy was incessantly apologizing on the side. After a commotion, everyone remembered to take Sasuke to the hospital. Sasuke's condition was not good. The physical injuries were minor compared to the psychological trauma caused by Tsukuyomi. Recalling the recent battle, Naruto trembled with anger and immediately proposed to chase after Kisame and avenge Sasuke. Jiraiya, however, mercilessly lectured his disciple. "With your current strength, even if you catch up, you will only get beaten." Naruto furiously shouted, "Are we supposed to keep hiding from them forever?" Jiraiya, changing from his usual easygoing demeanor, sternly reprimanded Naruto for being too weak. Guy told the two that Kakashi had also been hit with the same technique as Sasuke and had not yet regained consciousness. Whenever someone got hurt, Guy always hoped that the medical expert would be nearby. Hearing this, Jiraiya immediately said that they were going to find that person. Jiraiya entrusted Sasuke to Guy to take back to Konohagakure and prepared to embark on a journey to find Tsunade. Seeing Naruto's determination, Guy, finding him to his taste, decided to teach Naruto the secret of becoming stronger, which was a breathable, convenient bodysuit. Naruto was very excited. Jiraiya expressed his disdain for this. Naruto followed Jiraiya without saying a word, thinking about what Itachi and Kisame had said. He asked his master why they were targeting him. Jiraiya did not hide the truth. They were after something inside Naruto. At that time, Naruto did not know the significance of the tailed beasts, only that they were the monsters that had attacked Konohagakure. As for why that person wanted it, he had no idea. Jiraiya, of course, did not know their purpose either, and could only guess that they wanted to obtain this power. Hearing this, Naruto was not afraid. On the contrary, he solemnly vowed to become stronger, so he needed to find Tsunade quickly and start training. Hearing this, Jiraiya was very pleased. At this moment, Tsunade was entering the casino with a whole box of money. The gamblers were instantly shocked. Tsunade's reputation was well known. She loved gambling and was notoriously unlucky. However, finding her was not easy because she feared aging the most. Therefore, she used a special ninjutsu to alter her appearance. Even though she was over 50, she looked to be only about 20 years old. According to intelligence, Tsunade had recently been frequently changing her age to evade creditors who were after her. During the search for Tsunade, Jiraiya prepared to give Naruto special training. Naruto was energized and was about to put on a treasure given by Guy, but Jiraiya quickly refused. The master and disciple continued on their way and finally reached the edge of a town. Jiraiya told Naruto that he would go into the town to gather information about Tsunade. The town was in the midst of a festival, bustling with activity. While training was important, a balance of work and leisure was the proper way. An excited Naruto couldn't wait to pull out his wallet, which was gradually filled from missions. Now he finally had a chance to use it. Jiraiya quickly boasted that his disciple was a rich man. Out of a sense of responsibility as a mentor, Jiraiya decided to keep Naruto's wallet to prevent the boy from spending money recklessly. He also reminded his disciple of the 3 ninja prohibitions: stay away from alcohol, women, and money. Naruto scoffed at this, but Jiraiya earnestly admonished him not to underestimate the temptation of these 3 things, just like Tsunade, who was nearly ruined by money. Naruto had a feast at the festival until he was full and then lay on the soft grass, thinking of his village comrades and secretly resolving to become stronger. Naruto returned to the festival, but accidentally tripped, dropping Jiraiya's passbook. Picking it up, Naruto realized that his master was actually a true rich man. Compared to him, his own pockets were nearly empty. However, remembering Jiraiya's earnest teachings, Naruto still used his limited money to buy 2 squid skewers to bring to his master. But following the sound of Jiraiya's hearty laughter, Naruto found that the man who claimed to be gathering information had already plunged into a crowd of women, with his own wallet on a nearby table. Naruto was infuriated to the point of smoke coming out of his 7 orifices. In the commotion, the squid skewers flew from his hand and landed on the clothes of a fierce-looking man. The man, a former Chunin, demanded a high price as compensation. This provided Jiraiya with an opportunity to teach Naruto a lesson. Jiraiya effortlessly lifted his hand, and with a Rasengan, he sent the man flying. The man finally realized he was no match for his opponent, and hurriedly paid for the damaged stall. Naruto was amazed by Jiraiya's ninjutsu, and knew it was no ordinary technique. Thus, a destined to be difficult training session began. Jiraiya told Naruto that much of the previous training was a preparation for this ninjutsu. Next, Naruto had to control the rotation of chakra in his palm to burst a water balloon in his hand. Naruto quickly caused the water inside the balloon to rotate, thinking he would soon burst it. However, Jiraiya walked to a tree, sat down, and calmly said with a flask in hand, "Don't forget to wake me up after you've done it." Naruto confidently agreed, but unfortunately, until the sun set, he was exhausted, and the water balloon showed no signs of bursting. Awakened by the noise, Jiraiya could not help but mock his disciple for oversimplifying the training. After Naruto's earnest plea, Jiraiya decided to give detailed guidance. It turned out that during the training, Naruto had been controlling the water to rotate to the left, while his chakra nature was more suited to the right. Whenever a ninja needs to gather chakra, the body unconsciously lets the energy rotate inside. But the direction of chakra flow varies from person to person. If the chosen method during training does not match one's own rotation direction, the flow of chakra will be hindered. The simplest way to determine whether a ninja's chakra rotates left or right is by observing the whirl on their head. After explaining, Jiraiya mocked his disciple as being very suitable for this ninjutsu since it did not require remembering complex hand seals and only needed chakra. Thus, even a fool could do it. Naruto, angered and embarrassed, loudly proclaimed that he was the man who would become the Hokage. However, Jiraiya nonchalantly told Naruto that this ninjutsu was an A-grade technique left by the fourth Hokage, who spent 3 years mastering it. Completing this ninjutsu required 3 stages of training, and bursting the water balloon was just the first step. Hearing this, Naruto finally realized he had been too presumptuous, but still refused to give up. After settling the matters, Jiraiya returned to the town to continue gathering information, while Naruto decided to continue his training. Early the next morning, Naruto arrived in the forest and marked a correct on the tree trunk to record the time. He did not have 3 years to waste, so all he could do was keep trying. 3 days later, the water balloon in Naruto's hand had deformed but still had not burst. Until the next day, when Jiraiya returned to the inn full of the smell of alcohol, Naruto finally gained crucial insights from the flow of water in the toilet and a cat playing with a water balloon. Thus, he logically completed the first stage of the training, although he needed both hands to assist in bursting the water balloon. By repeatedly touching the water balloon with his right hand, the water inside began to spin and then burst. Although Jiraiya found it strange, he was still pleased. Thus, Jiraiya took all the credit for himself. However, Naruto mentioned that the little cat also had a part in this success. When his master first demonstrated it, Naruto noticed that the surface of the water balloon became uneven, but during his training, he kept making the water flow in the same direction. As a result, although the balloon deformed, it never burst. The reason the water balloon became uneven was that the water inside was moving in different directions. Therefore, Naruto adopted a method of using both hands, showing that he was still unable to make chakra move irregularly with one hand. Nevertheless, he had moved on to the second stage. In this stage, Jiraiya asked Naruto to burst a solid rubber ball. Naruto immediately tried the same method but failed. This ball had no water flow to assist, meaning Naruto needed to produce greater power with his chakra. The strenuous training put a huge strain on his body's meridians, causing pain that Naruto found unbearable. Yet he continued to adhere to his beliefs. The scene of a father and son sharing a popsicle on the street made Naruto feel a bit lonely. So, he asked Jiraiya to accompany him during his training. However, Jiraiya honestly told Naruto not to rely on him and to grow on his own like a ninja. Naruto could only force a smile. Jiraiya understood what Naruto was thinking, so although he was busy with his intelligence business during the day, he always returned to the inn at night to check on his pupil. Due to continuous training, Naruto's hands were severely injured, but he understood that to burst the rubber ball, he could not reduce the amount of chakra released. Suddenly, Naruto realized that by the level of pain, he could gauge the flow of chakra. So, he simply let the pain reach the limits of his body. Persistence paid off, and with severe pain, Naruto finally made a small hole in the rubber ball. Jiraiya generously praised his disciple and handed him a freshly bought popsicle. Just a simple popsicle and a word of praise made Naruto burst into joy. Then, Jiraiya took out a brush and drew a symbol on Naruto's palm, seemingly wanting him to try some kind of training. Meanwhile, in the hospital of Konohagakure, Sasuke was still in a coma with Sakura sitting helplessly by his bedside. Deep in the forest, Orochimaru was on the verge of collapse, and only Tsunade, also one of the legendary Sannin, could save him. After much inquiry, Kabuto discovered Tsunade's location. In the forest, Naruto looked puzzled at the symbol. Jiraiya explained while pulling out a paper with the same symbol drawn on it. When humans look at a blank piece of paper, their gaze wanders aimlessly. But once a mark is made on it, consciousness focuses there. After concentration, the mind stabilizes, unlocking unexpected strength. Just like Naruto had only made one hole in the rubber ball to concentrate more chakra in his palm, he desperately focused his energy there. This shows that without a target, focusing the mind is very difficult. Therefore, he needed to use the symbol on his palm. Next time he concentrated chakra, he would imagine concentrating it on this symbol. After hearing this, Naruto immediately began to practice. However, after several attempts, the hole in the rubber ball always ended up at the same point. Jiraiya returned to town to continue searching for Tsunade's news. Meanwhile, Orochimaru had already set out. After 2 days of continuous training, Naruto's hand wounds became more evident. One morning, Jiraiya threw a bag of brand new rubber balls in front of Naruto and then quickly left. He knew that the flowers under the shade could never grow into towering trees. Only by gaining strength through his own efforts could Naruto truly be cared for. That evening, Jiraiya finally found a gambler in a tavern who knew Tsunade. The gambler told him that he had made a good profit from Tsunade. Exhausted to the point of collapse, Naruto got up from the ground, constantly pondering what Jiraiya meant by concentration. Naruto's body was at a point where he could no longer gather chakra and had to lie down in the forest to rest. Accidentally dropped forehead protector and the green leaves falling from the trees, Iruka-sensei would stick fallen leaves on their foreheads to help them concentrate. He asked them to focus all their chakra on the fallen leaves. This practice is the origin of the Konohagakure forehead protector emblem. After a brief rest, Naruto reinvigorated his spirit and continued his training. Perhaps it was a blessing in disguise, as the rubber ball in Naruto's hand finally burst. The immense recoil even caused him to tumble several times. This display of talent left Jiraiya quite astounded. The second phase of training had ended, and Naruto was eager to start the third phase, but Jiraiya had just learned of Tsunade's whereabouts. He decided to find Tsunade first. However, Orochimaru had already appeared before Tsunade. Naruto was very dissatisfied, especially since he was at a critical stage of his training. Jiraiya then tossed a light balloon to him. The first phase focused on rotation, the second on power, and the third phase required the use of the balloon. Jiraiya demonstrated, forming a perfect sphere in his hand without a trace of chakra escaping its bounds. The balloon was filled with rapidly spinning chakra, yet it remained motionless. This is what needed to be achieved in the third stage, keeping the powerful, rapidly spinning chakra in one form without movement. After completing the second stage, the force of the chakra on the target was very dispersed, but after completing the third stage, the power would become more concentrated and effective. After watching Jiraiya's demonstration, Naruto began to try, but he could not keep the chakra stable, and the balloon exploded immediately. Jiraiya told Naruto that Tsunade might move at any moment, so he could only train while traveling. On the street, Tsunade was blocked by Orochimaru. Orochimaru stated that he had been looking for Tsunade for a long time. Tsunade quickly observed that Orochimaru was in poor condition, likely seeking her out for treatment. Even though she no longer treated others, she couldn't help but ask Orochimaru who had injured him so badly. Orochimaru openly admitted that he was injured when he killed the third Hokage. Tsunade and Shizune were shocked, having known about Orochimaru's defection, but not expecting him to have killed his own master. Perhaps to remind Tsunade that they were similar, Orochimaru specifically mentioned that Tsunade had once killed her two most beloved people. Tsunade trembled with anger. Kabuto, seeing Orochimaru's intent, silently criticized his cruelty. Tsunade did not respond, but Shizune could not stand it anymore and shot toxic steel needles at Orochimaru. Kabuto quickly blocked them with a chakra blade. As Shizune closed in on Kabuto, she grabbed his throat. Tsunade stopped Shizune's action, saying, "Orochimaru, you know my personality well." Tsunade then punched a stone wall behind her, causing it to collapse, surprising Kabuto with her strength. Meanwhile, Naruto and Jiraiya finally arrived nearby. Seeing his master so anxious, Naruto wondered what kind of person this Tsunade was. Startled, Kabuto hurriedly explained to Tsunade that he and Orochimaru were not there to fight, but indeed had a request. However, Tsunade just wanted Orochimaru to disappear from her sight. Orochimaru then played his trump card. He could bring back her lover and brother from the dead. This not only startled Shizune, but Tsunade also halted in her tracks. Orochimaru revealed that he had developed a forbidden technique. Meanwhile, Jiraiya and Naruto had found a casino. The casino owner proposed a bet to Jiraiya. If Jiraiya won, he would tell him about Tsunade's whereabouts. But if he lost, Jiraiya would have to pay 1,000 rai. Jiraiya was bound to lose. But the air wave from the exploding balloon Naruto held inadvertently changed the dice's outcome, leading Jiraiya to win. However, the information the owner provided did not clarify Tsunade's movements. But Naruto's luck was astonishing, winning enough from a lottery ticket to refill his wallet. Judging from the information, Jiraiya concluded that Tsunade had not gone far, so he decided to get a higher view to see for himself. On the street, Tsunade was somewhat moved by Orochimaru's offer. As she greatly missed her lover and brother, she asked Orochimaru what he planned to do if he was cured. Orochimaru did not hide his intentions. After getting what he wanted, he would completely destroy Konohagakure. Jiraiya and Naruto paused on the rooftop, gazing thoughtfully at the ruins across the street. They overheard refugees talking about how a giant snake had demolished the castle in an instant. Jiraiya immediately suspected Orochimaru's handiwork. Nearby, on another street, Orochimaru revealed his intention to destroy Konohagakure, igniting Shizune's fury. However, he tempted Tsunade with a deal to heal his arms, in exchange for resurrecting her beloved one and her brother, an offer Tsunade found irresistible. Shizune quickly reminded Tsunade, lost in her memories, not to fall for their trick, arguing that even if they were alive, they would not approve of her collaboration with Orochimaru. Kabuto told Tsunade to take her time, as the resurrection would require 2 living sacrifices. Hearing this, Shizune was ready to confront them, but saw Tsunade's hesitant expression. Orochimaru, struggling, lifted his right hand and bit his finger, causing blood to flow out instantly. Tsunade's pupils dilated, and she began to tremble, revealing her fear of blood, despite being a renowned medical ninja. After this, Orochimaru and Kabuto retreated. By the time Jiraiya and Naruto arrived, the place was empty. That night, Tsunade was found drowning her sorrows in a local pub, which Jiraiya and Naruto, searching for her, also entered. Naruto was shocked to learn that the beautiful woman was the 50-year-old Tsunade. Reunited old friends needed no words, as everything was expressed through the drinking. But Tsunade withheld Orochimaru's purpose from Jiraiya, only to be asked by him about returning to Konoha to become the 5th Hokage. Not just Shizune, but also a feasting Naruto was taken aback, confirming the news of Orochimaru killing Hiruzen. Naruto, just learning of the invasion by Orochimaru, angrily questioned why a member of Konoha's legendary Sannin would attack Hiruzen. The doubts overwhelmed Naruto, leading him to slam the table and demand answers about Orochimaru's invasion and Tsunade's potential Hokage appointment. Jiraiya calmed him, continuing the conversation with Tsunade. However, Orochimaru's words kept haunting Tsunade, leading her to firmly decline Jiraiya's request, reminding him of her decisiveness similar to when he had confessed to her in the past. Naruto, puzzled by the change from healing Kakashi and Sasuke to appointing her as Hokage, and her refusal, listened as Jiraiya explained that only Tsunade was qualified to be the 5th Hokage, given her past contributions and her lineage as the first Hokage's granddaughter. If she became Hokage, healing Kakashi and Sasuke would naturally follow, as it was a decision by the village's higher-ups, beyond a genin's influence. Tsunade sarcastically remarked that Naruto was far inferior to Jiraiya's other students, to which Jiraiya smiled, acknowledging that anyone would pale in comparison to Minato. Tsunade, however, noted that even the exemplary Minato had died young, arguing that risking life for the village was foolish, a sentiment she believed Hiruzen also foolishly harbored at his old age. This infuriated Naruto, who could not tolerate the disrespect towards the Hokage, and challenged Tsunade to a duel, which she accepted, claiming she could defeat him with just one finger. During the duel, Naruto, enraged and using shuriken and a kunai, was swiftly outmaneuvered by Tsunade, who easily disarmed him and sent him flying several meters with a powerful blow. Tsunade sharply questioned Naruto, "Why are you so obsessed with the title of Hokage?" Naruto replied with determination, "I must inherit the name of Hokage because it's my dream." At that moment, Tsunade saw the shadows of 2 familiar figures in Naruto. Her momentary distraction exposed a vulnerability. Naruto seized the opportunity, concentrated his chakra, and used the Rasengan, a technique he had not yet mastered fully. Tsunade was taken aback, but she quickly smashed a finger into the ground, creating a deep trench that threw Naruto off balance. His Rasengan missed its mark. Tsunade, from the marks left behind, concluded that Naruto had yet to truly master this ninjutsu. She then turned to Jiraiya and accused, "Did you teach him the Rasengan? Teaching him such a ninjutsu that he couldn't possibly learn is a failure on your part as a teacher." Tsunade made a bet with Naruto. If he could master the Rasengan within a week, she would acknowledge his potential to become Hokage and give him a necklace, leaving Jiraiya speechless. That evening, Shizune knocked on Naruto's door. Tsunade was originally a kind-hearted ninja who loved her village. The story began on her brother Nawaki's 12th birthday, when Tsunade gave him the necklace as a gift. Tsunade tenderly kissed her brother's forehead. However, the day after Nawaki received the necklace, he died in battle. This tragedy led Tsunade to propose that each team should include a medical ninja, a suggestion Dan supported during a meeting. Afterwards, Tsunade thanked Dan, learning that he, too, had lost a loved one a year earlier. Their shared experiences brought them closer. Soon before Dan left on a mission, Tsunade kissed Dan and gave him the necklace. However, Dan was severely wounded in battle and died still clinging to his dream. It was then that Tsunade developed her fear of blood. After hearing Shizune's story, Naruto silently left the room to begin his training. Meanwhile, Jiraiya confronted Tsunade, believing she had already lost the necklace in a bet. Jiraiya sensed Tsunade's concern for Naruto, puzzled why she would wager on a ninjutsu he couldn't possibly master in a week unless it was related to her deal with Orochimaru. Jiraiya had long suspected that, like the previous Hokage, Tsunade wanted to protect Konohagakure and its people, risking their lives for this ideal. He couldn't understand the ambitions of his predecessors, but if Tsunade dared betray Konohagakure, he would not hesitate to kill her. Tsunade simply asked Jiraiya why he brought such a child, who was so much like Nawaki, not only in age, but also in his dream and self-righteous character. As Jiraiya sobered up from his hangover and noticed Naruto's pajamas untouched, he guessed Naruto had trained all night. Tsunade, haunted by Orochimaru's words, wandered aimlessly into an arcade, unable to accept Orochimaru's intention to destroy Konohagakure. Faced with the choice between succeeding as Hokage or collaborating with Orochimaru to resurrect her loved ones, Tsunade found herself unable to decide. Unaware, she arrived at Naruto's training ground. Watching the exhausted young ninja, her inner turmoil deepened. Orochimaru had given her the same one-week ultimatum she had given Naruto, turning it into a gamble against herself. Orochimaru and Kabuto, meanwhile, speculated on Tsunade's decision. If she agreed to cooperate, once Orochimaru's hands were healed, they could immediately begin their plan to destroy Konohagakure. But if Tsunade refused, Orochimaru was prepared to coerce her into compliance. Based on his understanding of Tsunade, Orochimaru was confident he could achieve his goal. In a desolate wilderness, Naruto focused on mastering the techniques Jiraiya had taught him while concentrating his chakra. Jiraiya had said that to master the Rasengan, one must exert 100% effort in the first two stages. However, Naruto was currently hitting a bottleneck. Yet thinking of his bet with Tsunade, he had no choice but to give it his all. Tomorrow marked the end of the week-long period. Throughout this week, Naruto had not returned to the inn, pushing his physical and mental limits to the extreme. Shizune was shocked by the damage Naruto had caused to the training ground. Meanwhile, Jiraiya sought out Tsunade again, and the two went to a pub, drinking and chatting. Tomorrow was the deadline for their bet. Unbeknownst to Jiraiya, Tsunade had drugged his drink, her motives unclear. Back at the inn, Tsunade found Naruto fast asleep, his week of training leaving him in a state of extreme fatigue and weakness, his hands covered in scars. Tsunade surmised that he would need at least until the day after tomorrow to wake up. She muttered to herself, echoing Jiraiya's words, "Why did I make such an impossible bet?" Shizune had already guessed that Tsunade was planning to meet Orochimaru tomorrow. She declared that even if it cost her life, she would prevent Tsunade from cooperating with Orochimaru. However, as Tsunade passed by, she struck Shizune with a light hit, causing her to immediately fall unconscious. The next morning, the pub owner discovered that Jiraiya had passed out. At this moment, Orochimaru and Kabuto were already on their way. Orochimaru instructed Kabuto to kill Shizune if she interfered. Kabuto knew that Orochimaru did not fully trust him, so he had no choice but to follow the orders and began to act separately in the forest. In the inn, Naruto, who had just woken up, revived the unconscious Shizune. Shizune was surprised. Tsunade had said he should sleep for 2 whole days. Naruto casually unwrapped his bandages. He had always only needed 1 night's sleep to recover from almost any injury. Seeing the energetic Naruto, Shizune remembered that this boy is the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Naruto knew today was the day the bet was due. Although he hadn't completely mastered Rasengan, He was ready to take a chance. Hearing this, Shizune suddenly remembered that Tsunade was probably about to meet Orochimaru. She hurriedly opened the window to rush out, but found Jiraiya gasping for breath outside. The drug Tsunade had administered was potent, leaving Jiraiya's body still numb. Gathering chakra was difficult for him, let alone throwing a kunai. Naruto teased Jiraiya for being easily seduced, but Jiraiya weakly explained that Tsunade, being a top medical ninja, could concoct an odorless and tasteless drug that affects ninjas. Meanwhile, Tsunade had arrived at the designated meeting place with Orochimaru. Kabuto also arrived outside the inn where Jiraiya and the others were staying. Despite his weakened state, Jiraiya sensed someone watching them and asked Shizune what kind of deal Tsunade and Orochimaru had made. With no more reason to hide the truth, Shizune led them while explaining what had happened that day. After hearing the story, Jiraiya feared the worst. He knew the importance of Naoki and Dan in Tsunade's heart. If Tsunade agreed to Orochimaru's terms, Jiraiya was prepared to take drastic action. At the meeting, Tsunade agreed to heal Orochimaru's arms, but on the condition that he would not attack Konohagakure. Orochimaru readily agreed. As a breeze blew by, Tsunade thought she saw Dan and Naoki's figures. Just as Tsunade was about to begin treating Orochimaru, Kabuto suddenly arrived and stopped their contact. Initially thinking Kabuto had betrayed him at a critical moment, Orochimaru then noticed something off in Tsunade's expression and realized she had intended to kill him. Orochimaru was puzzled. He genuinely wanted to revive Naoki and Dan and had just agreed not to attack Konohagakure. Tsunade, with a sad expression, acknowledged she knew Orochimaru was lying. Although she knew he was lying, she still longed to see them, to touch and embrace them. However, she could not convince herself because Naruto had reminded her of their dreams. She had once tried to forget those noble aspirations, but Naruto made her realize that the dreams for which Naoki and Dan had sacrificed their lives were also her own desires. Tsunade, wiping away her tears, charged forward, and with a massive explosion, the street's surface shattered. Due to his injuries, Orochimaru was unable to fight, leaving Kabuto to battle Tsunade. By the time Jiraiya and the others arrived, the area was already in shambles. It was evident that Tsunade had refused Orochimaru's deal. Seeing Tsunade's coat on the ground, the group used Tonton's keen sense of smell to start a pursuit. On a broader grassy field, Tsunade and Kabuto were entangled in a drawn-out fight. Kabuto took military ration pills to replenish his energy, then revealed his true skills. Kabuto's chakra scalpel successfully sliced through Tsunade's muscles. After a series of attacks, Tsunade's muscles were severely damaged, making her realize Kabuto was no ordinary opponent. Kabuto sheathed his chakra scalpel and said, "It would be troublesome if a vital hit killed you, but now you can't move." Before he could finish, Tsunade transformed into a blur, striking Kabuto on the back of the neck with her hand shaped like a knife. When he tried to kneel, he found he couldn't control his body. Tsunade quickly landed a punch on his cheek, though it didn't cause severe damage. Tsunade had turned her chakra into electrical signals, injecting them into Kabuto's nervous system, which controls the nerves throughout the body with high-speed electrical signals, causing actions. This strike caused Kabuto's entire nervous system to malfunction. Kabuto couldn't help but admire. Truly, she is one of the legendary Sannin of Konoha. Meanwhile, Tsunade began using medical ninjutsu to treat her injuries, while Kabuto mentally analyzed countermeasures. He discovered that trying to move his right hand caused his left foot to act, and attempting to move his left foot made his right shoulder move. After several attempts, Kabuto managed to stand and pulled out a kunai, charging at Tsunade, planning to exploit her fear of blood to end the fight. Tsunade was surprised by how quickly Kabuto regained control over his body. At a critical moment, a pink smoke bomb went off, and Jiraiya and the others finally arrived. Orochimaru greeted his old friend with a grave expression. Naruto also saw Kabuto, whom he had met during the Chunin exams, but no one explained to him what was happening. Tsunade had recovered from her injuries, pushed Jiraiya aside, and re-engaged Kabuto in combat. Despite the punches and kicks exchanged, Tsunade's superior strength soon cornered Kabuto. However, calm and collected, Kabuto grabbed a kunai stuck in a rock and stabbed his own palm, causing blood to spurt out instantly. Tsunade froze, trembling uncontrollably. Seizing the moment, Kabuto punched Tsunade, sending her flying. Naruto was still confused. unclear why Kabuto and Tsunade were fighting. Reminded by Jiraiya, Naruto realized Kabuto had sided with Orochimaru, a fact he was reluctant to accept. During the Chunin exams, he had learned a lot from Kabuto, who had previously approached them under the guise of gathering information. After understanding Naruto, Kabuto concluded differently from Sasuke. Although he was interested in the monster inside Naruto, in the presence of the legendary Sannin of Konoha, Naruto was insignificant. Hearing this, Naruto charged forward. Naruto summoned shadow clones, planning to attack Kabuto from the right side while his hand was injured. But Kabuto was not so easily handled. He used his blood to blind Naruto and then swiftly dealt with the 3 shadow clones. Shizune caught the flying Naruto and spat out 2 silver needles. Kabuto's nervous system hadn't fully recovered, making it impossible for him to dodge, but he quickly ducked, using his forehead protector to block the attack. Jiraiya couldn't help but praise the move. Kabuto quickly retreated and swallowed a blood replenishment pill to compensate for the lost blood. Orochimaru unwrapped the bandages on his left hand, ready to join the fight. Jiraiya instructed Shizune to handle Kabuto while he would deal with Orochimaru. But before that, he wanted Tsunade to regain full mobility. Shizune indicated that the effects of the drug would last a while longer and that she was powerless to counteract it. Jiraiya was shocked, but had no choice but to push forward. Naruto was tasked with protecting Tsunade along with Tauntaun. Naruto was reluctant, but Jiraiya earnestly told him that Orochimaru was too powerful and that he was the only one who could handle him. Even Kabuto was a match for Kakashi, and certainly not someone Naruto could handle on his own. The stage was set for a confrontation. Kabuto drew symbols on Orochimaru's arm with blood, while Jiraiya bit his finger. Both sides performed the summoning jutsu, Kuchiyose no Jutsu. When the smoke cleared, Orochimaru's giant snake appeared, while Jiraiya summoned Gamakichi, much to the surprise of both teacher and student. Orochimaru was delighted, suspecting Tsunade had tampered with something. The disparity in their strengths was clear. Naruto, annoyed by Orochimaru's taunts towards his master, bit his finger and formed hand seals to also perform the summoning jutsu. The smoke rose again, and Orochimaru regretted not having eliminated Naruto earlier, especially if he could harness Kurama's power, which could hinder his plans. However, this concern was quickly dismissed when it was revealed that Naruto had summoned Gamakichi's little brother. Listening to the 2 small toads laughing and playing, Naruto was on the verge of tears. Orochimaru, unwilling to delay any longer, directed the giant snake to charge at Jiraiya. As the snake struck, rocks flew in all directions. In the chaos, Shizune was knocked away by a punch from Kabuto, and Naruto was swallowed whole by the snake. Jiraiya struggled to rescue him, facing relentless pressure from Orochimaru. Jiraiya quickly formed hand seals and used the earth release, Swamp of the Underworld, which, despite his limited power, managed to hinder the snake's movements. Shizune, back on her feet, engaged Kabuto, but was hit by his chakra scalpel, forcing her to emit a cloud of poisonous mist in retaliation. The purple fog spread quickly, but Kabuto held his breath and burrowed underground. When the mist cleared, he emerged to sever Shizune's Achilles tendon. Meanwhile, Naruto struggled to free himself from the snake's mouth and was launched through the air as soon as he appeared. Jiraiya used Ninpo, Needle Jizo, but the drug's effects caused him to expose a weakness, and Orochimaru managed to bite his neck, taunting him about their difference in strength and urging him to give up resistance. Shizune was thoroughly defeated by Kabuto, and Tsunade, still not recovered from her hemophobia, trembled helplessly as Kabuto prepared to strike. Kabuto approached the trembling Tsunade and said, "I truly admired you, but now you're only bringing shame to the name of the legendary Sannin of Konoha." He then began to beat her. Seeing Naruto on the ground, Orochimaru was puzzled why Jiraiya would bother with a child who seemed to have no aptitude for becoming a ninja. Jiraiya smiled slightly, stating that training a genius was boring. However, Orochimaru knew Jiraiya favored the boy because he saw his younger self in Naruto. He thought Naruto wasn't as naturally gifted as Sasuke, who was born with the shuriken. Naruto could only improve by continuously learning ninjutsu, the essence of being a ninja. But Jiraiya disagreed, believing that a ninja is someone who can endure anything. To him, the most important ability for a ninja isn't how many ninjutsu one possesses, but an unyielding will. Suddenly, Naruto appeared between Kabuto and Tsunade, blocking Kabuto's punch with his forehead protector. Blood streamed down his forehead as his anger erupted. Surprised, Kabuto dodged Naruto's slowly executed Rasengan. As they brushed past each other, Kabuto's chakra scalpel struck Naruto's already injured leg, causing intense pain and knocking him to the ground. Kabuto concluded that Naruto was incapacitated, while Naruto assessed that he couldn't perform the Rasengan with one hand injured. Kabuto, smiling, pulled out a card, recalling Naruto's words during the Chunin exams. "I won't run away. I accept the challenge. Even if I remain a Genin all my life, I will become Hokage through sheer willpower." As Tsunade trembled, listening to Kabuto, she remembered the night Naruto vowed to become Hokage. Kabuto continued to manipulate Naruto, urging him to cherish life, as death leaves one with nothing. These words were a taunt to Naruto, but for Tsunade, they undoubtedly brought back a flood of memories. In Kabuto's view, dreams were merely child's play, something any mature person should discard. As Kabuto lectured, he continued to punch and kick Naruto, but Naruto's eyes had already become fierce. He blocked Kabuto's kick, struggled to his feet, and declared firmly, "My word is my bond, that is my ninja way." Tsunade was struck by these words. She had heard them from Naruto on the night they made their bet. Kabuto, gathering chakra again, knocked Naruto to the ground. Watching Naruto continue to struggle to get up, refusing to give up, Tsunade couldn't help but wonder why he was so persistent. Naruto, positioning himself protectively in front of Tsunade, said, "As per our agreement, I will take that cursed necklace." He then formed hand seals and used the shadow clone technique, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Kabuto, infuriated, approached rapidly with a kunai in hand. Tsunade urged Naruto to move aside and not to sacrifice himself needlessly, but he caught Kabuto's kunai-wielding hand with his left and said coolly, "I won't die before I become Hokage." At that moment, Naruto's grip prevented Kabuto from escaping. With the help of his shadow clones, the Rasengan finally formed in Naruto's right hand. This time, Kabuto couldn't dodge it. Accompanied by Kabuto's scream, the Rasengan hit him squarely in the abdomen. The formidable Rasengan exploded with a thunderous roar. The surging chakra seemed ready to tear Kabuto apart. His body was hurled backwards, and when the dust settled, a deep crater was smashed into the rock behind Kabuto, and a vast ravine was left on the ground. Naruto's sudden burst of power caught the attention of the legendary Sannin of Konoha present. The seemingly stunned kid was actually using such a high-level ninjutsu. Tsunade was in disbelief. Naruto had really learned Rasengan within a week. Kabuto struggled to his feet, gasping heavily in weakness. The wound on his abdomen was ghastly, and Naruto's condition wasn't much better. With days and nights of training coupled with intense battle, his body was already overburdened, his vision blurred, and he collapsed straight down. Tsunade hurried to check on him, but noticed Kabuto was still scheming. Before being hit by Rasengan, he had used chakra to heal himself. Though unable to fully recover in such a short time, he still had the strength to fight. Thus, Naruto's all-out Rasengan did not fundamentally change the course of the battle. However, as Kabuto confidently advanced a few steps, he felt his body lose control again. He had underestimated the power of Naruto's move. Upon examination, Tsunade discovered Naruto was on the brink of death, as Kabuto had used a chakra blade to sever the muscles around his heart, causing arrhythmia. Tsunade hurriedly opened Naruto's clothing to start emergency treatment, but Kabuto was unconcerned. Because he had disrupted the meridian system that restored Kurama's power, even Tsunade could not bring Naruto back from the brink. After some treatment, Naruto's condition did not improve. Instead, his heartbeat stopped. Tsunade was plunged into endless despair. Was Naruto going to pass away from her like Dan and Nawaki? At that moment, in a space within Naruto, a light was slowly fading away. But with the falling of clear droplets, the darkness receded. Naruto reached out his hand towards Tsunade's necklace. Even now, Naruto had not forgotten his bet with Tsunade. The tenacity of the Uzumaki clan was beyond ordinary. Naruto's vital signs gradually stabilized. Clearly, his life was saved. Tsunade wept. Naruto had not only fulfilled his nindo, but also redeemed Tsunade. This time, she decided to bet on Naruto, while Jiraiya and the opposing Orochimaru kept a close watch on Naruto's condition. Upon realizing Naruto's potential, Orochimaru suddenly wanted to kill him, determined not to let this child fall into Akatsuki's hands. As Orochimaru made a move towards Naruto, Jiraiya immediately followed, but Orochimaru turned and threw out his tongue, slamming Jiraiya to the ground. Then he dashed at breakneck speed towards Naruto. In a critical moment, Tsunade unhesitatingly blocked in front of Naruto, taking the blade of the great snake through her chest. This scene was beyond everyone's expectation. Orochimaru's face grew stern. Though cold-blooded and ruthless, the one person he did not wish to kill was Tsunade. And if Naruto continued to live, everything that followed would be very troublesome. But for Tsunade, she must protect this child at all costs. Orochimaru was puzzled. Why would Tsunade risk her life for a genin? Tsunade paused silently. She understood that to protect Konohagakure, she had to do this. If there had to be a reason, it was because this child would someday become Hokage. Orochimaru scoffed at this, because to him, Hokage was trash. Just days ago, Tsunade had said the same to Jiraiya. Memories of the past shrouded Tsunade's mind. To quell turmoil, to seek peace. For this ideal, even risking life was worth it. It was only now that Tsunade truly understood how heavy these words were. She trembled as she stood up, her eyes clear and resolute. Seeing this, Orochimaru no longer held back. His blade swung, directly across Tsunade's chest. Blood spilled everywhere. Tsunade immediately fell. Orochimaru continued, sword in hand, approaching Naruto. Blood sprayed in the air. The severely injured Tsunade blocked Naruto once again. Orochimaru was also shocked. Tsunade was fearless, because she had said she would gamble with her life from now on. Although she could barely protect herself, she still had to endure. Furious, Orochimaru kicked Tsunade to the ground. If she could not overcome her fear of blood, no matter how strong her vitality, Tsunade could only be beaten. Orochimaru, from a high position, continuously provoked her with words. When asked why she would fight for Konohagakure, Tsunade's trembling body regained calm. Without waiting for Orochimaru to be ready, she kicked him flying. Tsunade said, "Because I am the 5th Hokage of Konohagakure." At the same time, she released the strength of 100 seal. At the moment she decided to accept the position of Hokage, Tsunade overcame her inner fears. Orochimaru thought Tsunade was at the end of her rope, but then he saw her form hand seals, her wounds covering her body, miraculously healed in an instant. Even the well-versed Orochimaru had never seen such ninjutsu, and this was the gambler Tsunade's ace in the hole. She had long accumulated chakra in her forehead, using this vast amount of chakra to stimulate various proteins, rapidly increasing the rate of cell division, allowing cells to rebuild. This was not just recovery ability, but regenerative ability, meaning she was virtually immortal in battle. But all ninjutsu have their weaknesses and flaws. The number of times a cell can divide in a lifetime has an upper limit. This speed up of division consumed her life. Tsunade made hand seals with her blood. Seeing this, Orochimaru quickly rushed to Kabuto's side. Jiraiya also immediately made rapid hand seals. The battle of the legendary Sannin of Konoha officially began. They simultaneously initiated the summoning jutsu. The real fight had just begun. Gamakichi immediately took his younger brother to the side to avoid the fray. The legendary Sannin of Konoha, once comrades in arms, now faced each other as irreconcilable foes. It was time to settle years of grievances. Manda appeared defiant. It was very dissatisfied with Orochimaru's summoning. Especially in such a troublesome situation, Kabuto tried to soothe the irritable Manda, even though Orochimaru was its master. Given Manda's temperament, if it knew about Orochimaru's crippled hands, it might have rebelled on the spot. Tsunade then instructed Katsuyu to take Naruto to Shizune to ensure she had no worries behind her. Gamabunta took a deep puff of his pipe, then provocatively blew smoke in Manda's face. This act completely enraged Manda, and they immediately came to blows. At this point, the name of the legendary Sannin of Konoha might as well end here. Saying so, a mouthful of acid slime aimed straight at Manda, but Manda's speed was incredibly fast. It twisted its body to dodge the attack and quickly counterattacked. Manda opened its mouth to bite. Gamabunta immediately drew his sword to help. After a missed strike, the trio suddenly fell into a stalemate, then transformed into clones, escaping Manda's deadly grip. Jiraiya formed hand seals with both hands, coordinating with Gamabunta to cast Toad Oil Flame Bullet, but after the scorching, only Manda's shattered husk remained. Unbeknownst to them, the shedding Manda had already burrowed underground and was waiting for the right moment to strike. Gamabunta reacted quickly, grabbing Manda's tail in one go, but this was only a feint. Just as Jiraiya and Gamabunta were about to be doomed, Tsunade swung a large sword from the sky, pinning Manda in place. Just as Manda was trapped and unable to move, Orochimaru used his tongue to strangle Tsunade's neck. Even if Tsunade could regenerate, if her head was strangled off, she presumably couldn't come back. But he never expected Tsunade could forcefully break free. His tongue instead became a weak point in the battle. Long-angered Tsunade aimed a punch at Orochimaru, hitting him with no chance to retaliate. Orochimaru was tossed in the air, continuously struck by powerful blows, but Tsunade's chakra was almost depleted. At this point, she could only continue to exert her strength. Orochimaru tried the same tactic again, using his tongue to approach Tsunade with the intention of surprising her with the hidden Kusanagi sword in his mouth. But Tsunade had already seen through his intent. The situation seemed overwhelmingly against him, but Tsunade sensed something was amiss. Tsunade gathered chakra in her hand. A straight punch hit Orochimaru squarely in the face. Such terrifying force sent Orochimaru flying tens of meters away. Seeing the situation was bad, Manda left a few harsh words before fleeing. Orochimaru had once again stood up. He had somehow taken over someone else's body. He escaped into the ground, retreating. Kabuto also used the cover of a smoke bomb to make his escape. Thus, the battle concluded. Tsunade's body had reached its limit. Afterwards, the group returned to Shortbook Street. When Naruto woke up, he returned to his usual energetic self. Hearing that Tsunade had agreed to become Hokage, he started questioning her. In Naruto's view, Tsunade was hot-tempered and capricious, extravagant and foolish. Tsunade tried to contain her anger at these words, but Naruto continued, saying that despite being a 50-something old lady, she looked young. As a Hokage, is it right to deceive everyone? Tsunade could no longer bear it. She decided to use her fist to shut Naruto up, so the two of them went out into the street to face off again. The battle was about to begin. Tsunade easily knocked off Naruto's forehead protector, but then she kissed him on the forehead. Naruto was stunned. Tsunade gently touched his chest and advised, "Be a good man, and then become an outstanding Hokage." After eating their fill, the group set off on their return journey to Konohagakure. Before becoming Hokage, Tsunade was less reliable than Jiraiya. She lured Jiraiya to take a dip in the hot springs first. All girls. Not far away, two people were secretly watching them. It was a hot springs resort by the river. Jiraiya found it disappointing. In the large pool, there were only him and Naruto, no beautiful girls as he had hoped. Meanwhile, Tsunade quietly took Shizune to play pachinko. Jiraiya stayed in the hot springs, waiting for beautiful girls to appear. But unfortunately, his hopes were dashed. First a group of monkeys, then a group of burly men, and finally a group of old ladies, some of whom even made advances on him. All in all, his bathing experience was terrible. After the bath, Naruto returned to his room to find it a mess. The necklace Tsunade had given him was gone. Only a debt collection letter remained, signed by the Akagi family. Naruto went to the designated meeting place and saw someone holding his necklace. Without hesitation, Naruto started beating up two men using his shadow clone technique. But after the fight, he realized they were not ninjas, but Tsunade's creditors. It turns out these two were quite pitiful. They were underlings of the Akagi family, tasked 3 years ago with collecting Tsunade's debts. They had resolved not to return until they had collected, but Tsunade was elusive. Today, they finally found Tsunade's whereabouts and tried to steal her necklace as leverage, not realizing it was now Naruto's. They took a beating for nothing. Seeing that Naruto was reasonable, they pleaded with him to help them get Tsunade to pay her debts. Looking at their pitiful faces, Naruto found it hard to refuse. Meanwhile, Tsunade had lost all her money at the pachinko parlor. She sent Shizune to the Hot Springs Inn to get money, but Shizune also received a letter signed by the Akagi family. Naruto was in their hands, and if they wanted him back, They had to pay up. Shizune, flustered, went to find Tsunade, but she had already left. Shizune decided to handle the tricky situation herself. She disguised herself as Tsunade and went to the appointed place, seeing Naruto tied up. Shizune pretended to take out a wallet, saying, "Although there's not much money in here, it can at least cover the interest." Of course, the money was fake, but it was immediately discovered by the other party. Shizune had no choice but to resort to force, spitting silver needles to quickly deal with the two debt collectors. But Naruto had no intention of leaving with her, instead questioning why she wouldn't pay the debts. Those two people who couldn't return home were too pitiful. Shizune was stunned, but the next second, all three of them disappeared. Shizune then realized these were all Naruto's shadow clones, and that Naruto had conspired with them. Hiding in the shadows, Naruto, wanting to help the two collect their debts, concocted a plan. Tsunade carried a large suitcase, which he thought must contain money. Watching Tsunade drinking alone in the room, Naruto thought of a plan. He disguised himself as Shizune and entered Tsunade's room, then took the suitcase before Tsunade could speak. But before he could boast to the two men, a fishing line descended from the sky and hooked the suitcase away. Naruto then accused Tsunade of being a Hokage who completely disregarded the lives of debt collectors. He did not recognize her as a Hokage. While Tsunade was stunned, Naruto cut the fishing line with a shuriken, and the three of them ran off. Tsunade chased after them, almost catching up. Out of necessity, Naruto threw a punch. But unexpectedly, when the smoke cleared, it revealed that Tsunade was actually a transformed little pig. Before Naruto could ponder this, another Tsunade attacked and he hurriedly fled, using the multiple shadow clone technique. The next second, the street was full of Narutos. Tsunade, imitated by many, then stormed in, making the scene very chaotic. The two debt collectors were trampled by a Tsunade, who was still actually Shizune in disguise. The real Tsunade had met an old friend in the pachinko parlor and had been drinking and chatting with them up to this point. The small hot spring town became exceptionally lively. Shizune caught countless Narutos, but they were all shadow clones. With so many people in the hot spring town, she couldn't find the real Naruto for a while. Finally, she had to climb high, and from the rooftop, she spotted the real Naruto, and a group of Tsunades chased after him. By then, Naruto was cornered. Shizune kicked Naruto down, and finally, Naruto was caught. However, the suitcase ended up in the hands of the two debt collectors. When they opened the wallet, they discovered it was just a pile of I owe us. They were completely dumbfounded, but just then, Tsunade and her friend arrived. Tsunade's friend happened to know the head of the Akagi family, leading to a dramatic turn in the debt situation. It turned out that the debt owed to the Akagi family had been paid off by Tsunade a year ago, but Shizune had forgotten. Knowing the truth, Naruto could only sigh, and he sent the two debt collectors away. Naruto asked Shizune why she had tried to stop him when there was nothing in the suitcase. Shizune was embarrassed. She was afraid that if people in the village found out about the IOU in the suitcase, they would oppose Tsunade becoming Hokage. Tsunade didn't mind. She had many I owe us, but had only paid off the Akagi family. Even if Konohagakure temporarily had no Hokage, it still radiated a peaceful and warm atmosphere. In the ninja school, Iruka received the news and ended his classes early. Although teacher Iruka said nothing, Konohamaru still sensed something was off. He hurried to the Hokage's office building and ran into Kotetsu and Izumo. Seeing his grandfather's belongings being moved out of the Hokage office, Konohamaru felt very upset. His grandfather was already being forgotten by the villagers. The new Hokage would become everyone's support. But for Konohamaru, this happy outcome felt especially cruel. He felt it was too soon. Being young, he didn't know how to express his emotions, so he decided to seek an explanation. Fuming, he bumped into Tsunade. Looking at the child, Tsunade couldn't help but scold him, and Konohamaru didn't back down. Shizune arrived just in time to urge Tsunade to go to a meeting, ending the incident. Neji focused on improving his Byakugan and ninjutsu. He could see behind him, spotting 7 birds on a branch 50 meters away. At that moment, Tenten invited him to see the 5th Hokage Tsunade, but Neji was not interested. Looking up, he saw 8 birds flying past. His Byakugan abilities still needed development. The elders were advising the 5th Hokage. After dealing with the two elders, Tsunade felt the need to relax. As she walked out, she ran into Naruto, who was urgently requesting Tsunade to go to the hospital to treat a patient. He encountered Shikamaru and his father. Naruto secretly told Shikamaru that this woman was the 5th Hokage. Although she looked young, she was actually over 50. Shikamaru, who disliked trouble and women, felt his world suddenly turn gray. But Shikaku taught his son that she was the strongest and most beautiful ninja in the world. However, in Shikamaru's heart, women were synonymous with trouble. Shikaku immediately said, "Without women, men cannot be born." Watching his father speak so authoritatively, Shikamaru didn't bother to debunk him. At Konohagakure Hospital, Sakura looked troubled. Knowing that Tsunade was there to treat Sasuke, she bowed deeply. The treatment was brief. Green light emanated from her hands as she gently pressed on Sasuke's forehead. Soon, he woke up. Sasuke was pulled into Sakura's arms, and she was tearful. The long days of waiting and suffering turned into endless tears at that moment. Naruto wanted to step forward, but seeing Sakura holding Sasuke tightly, he suddenly felt like an outsider. Naruto signaled Tsunade to hurry and save Kakashi. Kakashi, having awakened, could no longer maintain his composure. Even after being healed, he looked like he was about to faint. Guy was already impatient at his side. Naruto wanted Tsunade to quickly check on his student Lee, but among the three, Lee's condition was the most dire. After glancing at Lee, Tsunade deliberately sent Naruto away. She didn't want Naruto to see the truth and become heartbroken. After a thorough examination of Lee's body, Tsunade gravely announced, "You can no longer be a ninja." Many fragments of bone in Lee's body had embedded themselves into his nerves. Guy couldn't accept this reality and began to speak erratically, even suspecting that this Tsunade was an imposter. However, under Tsunade's stern expression, his protests were ineffective, and Guy fell completely silent. Nevertheless, Tsunade could still perform surgery on Lee, but the success rate of such surgery was only 50%, and failure meant death. Lee wasn't a natural talent. His gift was his hard work and perseverance. Guy recalled how, even after being injured, Lee continued to train rigorously and even swallowed 100 of Guy's special herbal pills for recovery pills that would turn one's face green with just one. Lee desperately took 100, never giving up even as he cried. Yet this relentless and hard-working Lee ended up with such a fate. Listening to Tsunade's advice to find another path, Lee remained silent, then walked out of the hospital room, leaning on a crutch, alone in the dark corridor. Was Lee's path as a ninja really over? Had his darkest moment arrived? Or was it the beginning of a different kind of hope? In the morning, Naruto, neatly dressed, with a gemstone necklace sparkling in the sunlight on his chest, Naruto turned a corner and encountered the despondent Lee, who had now lost direction in life. Naruto was unaware that Lee's ninja career had been declared over. He enthusiastically asked Lee how he was, believing that Tsunade's miraculous skills would surely heal Lee's injuries. Lee looked somber and didn't know how to respond to Naruto. Then Konohamaru arrived and had taken over the Hokage's office, believing it still belonged to his grandfather and that no one could replace him. The office was filled with exploding tags and various traps. Outside the office were the Hokage's guard ninjas. Konohamaru's childish actions undoubtedly disrupted the normal operations of the 5th Hokage. Izumo and Kotetsu had no choice but to break in, but inhaled smoke bombs laced with pepper, causing them to cough incessantly. Just then, Tsunade arrived and scolded them for being slow. Could the Hokage's office really allow a child to cause such chaos? Izumo and Kotetsu explained that the person inside was the 3rd Hokage's grandson, and they were hesitant to be harsh. Tsunade bluntly stated, "I am the granddaughter of the 1st Hokage." Teaching him a lesson might wake him up. Upon hearing this, they were about to use ninjutsu to force Konohamaru out, when Naruto arrived just in time. As Konohamaru's big brother, he pleaded with Tsunade not to be harsh with Konohamaru, promising he would get him to come out peacefully. Tsunade agreed briskly, giving him one day. From outside the door, Naruto began to persuade, but Konohamaru feigned deafness. Naruto gradually lost patience until Konohamaru called him a fool, which angered Naruto. and he charged at the door. Physical means were often the most direct and effective. However, the door was rigged with mechanisms, and a pile of iron pots fell, dazing Naruto. Lee sat alone by the river, the once fiery youth now a melancholic patient. Soon, Sakura came with flowers, and her encouragement and smile were like a tonic to the long, silent Lee. Tsunade, having a rather leisurely time, couldn't find a suitable office space and simply roamed the streets with Shizune, looking for a place to drink and play cards. Fortunately, she had the gentle and reliable Shizune by her side, constantly reminding Tsunade. In the snack shop, the dining table served as her desk, where she could enjoy hot drinks. Shizune managed Tsunade well, since escaping work was not an option. Tsunade reviewed the latest ninja manual, especially the files of Naruto and his peers, surprised and pleased by the different class divisions from the previous generation. However, when she reached Lee's page, her emotions became complicated. While out for a walk, she happened to see the wandering Lee and felt compelled to do something. Meanwhile, just as Naruto was preparing to use his newly learned Rasengan to blast the door open, Tsunade returned. She silently pushed the door open, easily handling the iron pots with her chakra. The exploding tags she held in her hand and stepped on lost their effectiveness. The obstacles in the way and the boulders above were shattered with one punch. In the face of Tsunade's absolute power, Konohamaru's carefully designed traps were trivial. Her actions were simple and casual. Just when Konohamaru thought he was going to be hit, Tsunade ignored him, took a book from the shelf behind him, and left without ever looking at him. Naruto and Konohamaru went to the cemetery to pay respects to Hiruzen. Konohamaru told Naruto about his restless reasons. The new Hokage would change Konohagakure, and soon Konohagakure would forget his grandfather. Naruto planned to take Konohamaru to find Tsunade. Naruto wants Tsunade to promise not to change Konohagakure and to ensure that everyone in the village remembers Hiruzen. Meanwhile, Tsunade is reading a book. She is very interested in Kabuto's ability to create new cells, thinking it could be helpful for Lee's surgery if applied to patients. Shizune is a bit worried about this, as it completely depends on individual aptitude. Even Tsunade might not be able to learn it. However, Tsunade is composed and says, "There's no way around it after all. I am the 5th Hokage." This statement awakens Konohamaru, who is outside the door. He recalls his grandfather often saying, "There's no way around it, Konohamaru. Your grandfather is the 3rd Hokage." At this moment, he realizes that Konohagakure will not change, and his grandfather will not be forgotten. Inside the ninja school, Lee sits on a bench. Although he had no sense for chakra, he still tried hard until he first met Guy. Guy's passionate yet inexplicable speech inspired Lee and gave him a direction in life. Guy asked everyone to express their dreams. Only Lee boldly stated his dreams. Although he faced ridicule from Neji, he earned praise from Guy. The fiery Guy and the laid-back Kakashi always ended up causing some trouble and laughter. The trouble-averse Kakashi suggested playing rock, paper, scissors. Guy agreed and stated the wager. The loser had to walk around Konohagakure on their hands for 500 laps. Suddenly, a hand landed on Lee's shoulder, interrupting his memories. Looking up, it was his eternally sunny teacher, Guy. In the ninja school, when all other students were learning ninjutsu, and Lee, who could only do taijutsu, saw the disappointed looks from his teacher and the isolation from his peers, Lee had his moments of doubt until he met teacher Guy. He believed every word Guy said. "You are a genius of hard work. Just keep at it." But now, Lee was breaking down. His body wouldn't change no matter how hard he tried. He asked his teacher what he should do now. Only as the sun set did Guy finally speak. He suggested Lee make up his mind about the surgery. Lee hesitated. Although luck is part of strength, he couldn't gamble his luck on the success rate of the surgery. Guy smiled slightly and asked Lee to recall what happened after their game of rock, paper, scissors. Guy undoubtedly lost and honored the bet. Although no one supervised him, Guy had the spirit to complete the wager. He walked around the village on his hands for 500 laps from morning to night, enduring the laughter of passers-by until late at night when Lee stopped him to ask why he did it. Guy listed several compelling reasons, which Lee noted down convincingly, and then followed Guy in his unique training method. The memory ends. 2 passionate men will not submit to fate. Guy tells Lee, "A heavenly future awaits you." Heaven will surely favor you. A child who has always tried hard. The surgery will succeed. If not, I will die with you. This was Gaius' heaviest promise as a teacher. Since meeting his disciple Lee, his nindo has been to devote his remaining life to training Lee. Lee was deeply moved and threw himself into Gaius' arms. At that moment, Lee finally decided to undergo the surgery. Meanwhile, Tsunade had been up all night and finally developed a cell activation technique that increased Lee's surgery success rate to 58%. Tsunade, wearing the Hokage's hat, stood with Jiraiya and 2 advisors behind her on a high platform. Removing her hat to reveal her beautiful face, she loudly announced that she was the 5th Hokage, ruling over Konohagakure. The whole village cheered together. Past pains had faded, and a new legend was about to begin. To their target. Along the way, they encountered no traps, which suggested that the enemy believed only Jirobo could catch up to them. Shikamaru decided to take advantage of the enemy's underestimation. Meanwhile, Kidomaru and others were not far away. Sakon complained about Jirobo being too slow, but just as he finished speaking, Jirobo appeared. Tayuya, always temperamental, scolded him. "You fat pig, don't think about slacking off. Hurry up and carry the coffin, that's your task." Jirobo responded indifferently, but the other 3 immediately stopped and immediately punched at Kidomaru, who easily caught the attack. Jirobo, always cautioned Tayuya about her language, was seen through. Kidomaru then spat out a web to bind Shikamaru. Before he could continue, Naruto surrounded him from behind. However, Kidomaru spat out a white substance, molded it into a huge spider web. Kidomaru was in free fall. Kiba attacked with Gatsuga, but Kidomaru grabbed a spider thread and dodged. Kiba, instead, spider thread preset by the opponent. Kidomaru then hung upside down on a tree trunk. Neji suddenly launched a surprise attack from behind, but was once again dodged by Kidomaru. Soon, Neji also fell into the opponent's trap and couldn't move. At this point, all 4 had completely fallen. Kidomaru wrapped Neji into a cocoon. Naruto realized that this spider web was unusual, as ordinary swords could not cut through it. According to Neji's Byakugan observation, there was chakra flowing through Kidomaru's spider silk, indicating some kind of ninjutsu. Seeing Naruto unable to move, Kidomaru whimsically used ninpo, spider sticky gold. The originally soft spider silk instantly became extremely hard. Kidomaru then threw out a dart, and one of Naruto's clones immediately dissipated. The threat of death slowly approached Naruto as Kidomaru continuously threw darts, and Naruto's clones kept decreasing. Just as only one remained, Kidomaru, who was complaining about the boredom of the game, threw out the last dart. But then he realized that all the trapped Narutos were just clones, and the real Naruto had already attacked from behind. However, Kidomaru quickly neutralized Naruto's assault and took control of him. Just as Neji, who was supposed to be clan's Juken, which can destroy any chakra product, proved that only Neji could deal with Kidomaru. Neji didn't hesitate and said, "Let's go. I'll handle this guy." However, from Akamaru's continuous retreat, it was evident that this person was even more formidable than Jirobo. But Neji understood Sasuke, but also the bonds of Konohagakure. Just as Iruka had said at the 3rd Hokage's funeral, many people die from missions or wars, but everyone holds something dear in their hearts, and emotions deepen over time. For this reason, risking one's life needs no justification. Those who cherish bonds would do so. Neji stared intently at Naruto and said, "Your eyes are even more perceptive than mine. Go." Sasuke is still in the darkness, immediately set off. Kidomaru tried to pursue with spider silk, but Neji activated his Byakugan and used Juken to cut off all his spider webs. Faced with such a powerful opponent, Kidomaru also became interested. He spat out countless spider webs to block Neji's movements. While Neji dodged continuously and defended with Juken, a lapse allowed Kidomaru to seize an opportunity. Kidomaru noticed Neji's special eyes and the sharp chakra released from his fingers, which was his power. Thus, Kidomaru thought that by trapping Neji's hands, he would. Naru spat out a spider sticky gold, preparing to harvest Neji's life. Kidomaru's attack missed, and Neji quickly closed in on Kidomaru. It turned out Juken was not limited to just the hands. He could release chakra from all the acupoints on his body. Now that Kidomaru had entered Neji's attack range, Kidomaru tried to dodge hastily. But Neji didn't give him a chance to escape. Faced with Hakarokuju Yonshio, Kidomaru could hardly parry and was fiercely blasted away. But to Neji's surprise, before the dust settled, Kidomaru had already gotten up. It turned out that Kidomaru had wrapped his entire body in hardened spider silk, and his abilities seemed to complement each other perfectly. His spider silk was not limited to just his mouth. It could also be secreted from the sweat glands all over his body. The spider silk covering his entire body could block the invasion of chakra, rendering Neji's continued use of Juken futile. Meanwhile, Kidomaru was also analyzing Neji's attack, so he prepared to attack Neji's defensive blind spots from a distance. The next second, Kidomaru disappeared from his spot. Neji constantly scanned the surroundings with his Byakugan, while Kidomaru hid in the trees and launched a surprise attack with a kunai. Neji, who was on guard, quickly dodged, but he didn't realize that the kunai thrown by Kidomaru was just a decoy, followed by a barrage of spider-sticky gold arrows. In a moment of urgency, Neji could only use Daytime Tiger for all-around defense. Seeing the arrows being deflected, Kidomaru was shocked. Neji, who had deflected the attack, threw a kunai back in retaliation. At this moment, Kidomaru finally realized that the Byakugan not only could see the flow of chakra, but also had almost a 360-degree field of view. Long-distance combat was disadvantageous for Neji. This move was to force Kidomaru to reveal himself. But Kidomaru activated the first stage of the cursed seal. Neji noticed that the opponent's chakra had been greatly enhanced, and his appearance reminded him of Sasuke. Kidomaru used Kuchiyose no Jutsu to summon a spider. Since the opponent defended by rotating chakra, he decided to hinder the rotation. The giant spider's abdomen was slashed open, and countless small spiders swarmed towards Neji. Neji immediately defended with Daytime Tiger, but his chakra got entangled by the small spider's webs, forcing him to stop the rotation. Kidomaru took the opportunity by Neji. Daytime Tiger was becoming difficult to maintain. In the ensuing, while Kidomaru maintained a safe distance, launching a combined attack with spider silk and arrows. Having lost the defense of Daytime Tiger, Neji could fix and used Hyakuni Juha Tissue to eliminate all the incoming spider fight the spider assault. Finally, an arrow pierced Neji's body, allowing Kidomaru to further understand Neji's abilities. Neji seemed to accurately sense attacks within 50 meters, yet he had not dodged just now. Kidomaru's attack. Kidomaru had finally deciphered the secret of Neji's eyes, intensifying his attack. Neji was repeatedly injured. It turned out that Byakugan was not perfect, and Daytime Tiger existed to compensate for this flaw. Neji, lying on the ground, struggled to stand up. The opponent's words, "You are destined not to win against me," reminded him of the times he had always defeated Lee in training. Back then, Neji was hailed as a genius by his peers, but in Lee's view, he could surpass a genius with effort. Back then, Neji concluded that no matter how hard you try, you cannot win against me. It's predetermined. He had said the same to Hinata, until his fight with Naruto changed his mind. Naruto's steadfast beliefs changed him. Amidst these memories, Kidomaru's attack came again. A huge spider smashed down towards Neji, who used Juken to completely shatter the spider. However, countless arrows followed immediately. Neji was hit by several arrows. Seeing this, Kidomaru prepared to leave. Yet Neji stood up again, though unsteadily, fortunately avoiding fatal injury. Kidomaru activated the second stage of the cursed seal. Kidomaru transformed his spider silk into a bow and arrow with destructive power, his strongest attack mode. The golden arrows whistled towards Neji's back. A huge explosion sounded, yet Neji dodged the attack. At this moment, Neji finally confirmed that the opponent had mastered the secret of the Byakugan. Staring at the spiral wound on Neji's back, Kidomaru realized that the attack had missed by several centimeters. The immense energy had displaced the arrow. As a fellow ninja, he understood how painful releasing such an amount of chakra could be. Now, Neji struggled to rise, facing the strongest opponent he had ever met. After only a brief exchange, Kidomaru had grasped his weakness. The Byakugan indeed had a narrow blind spot. For attacks aimed at the first thoracic vertebra, the Byakugan could not see. Suddenly, Neji moved. As he ran, he pulled out the arrows stuck in his back. Moving indeed made the blind spot unpredictable, but this was meaningless to Kidomaru. He drew another arrow and began to aim. As Neji ran dodging, Neji's forehead protector was blown away, and blood seemed to pierce through his skull. Seeing the spider silk, Neji immediately realized how Kidomaru controlled the direction. When the attack missed again, Kidomaru leaped to the treetops, creating a rapidly spinning arrow. In this way, he could avoid the previous mistake. Combined with the control of the spider silk, Neji would surely not survive. Neji's chakra was nearly depleted, and he could no longer dodge the opponent's next attack. But remembering Naruto's determined gaze, Neji made his decision at that moment. Kidomaru drew his bow and aimed a powerful arrow straight at Neji, who turned around. The arrow hit Neji squarely and even pierced through the large tree behind him. This time, Kidomaru was certain that his opponent could not survive. However, Neji smiled. He used the last of his strength to grasp the spider silk and execute Juken. Chakra flowed up the spider silk and struck Kidomaru's body directly. Kidomaru fell straight from the tree. In his view, Neji's dying counterattack was futile. Neji, covered in blood, continually recalled every word and action of Naruto. From that day, Neji believed he could change his own fate. He could not let down Naruto's trust in him. After all, just as Kidomaru regained control of his body, Neji was already in front of him. Without any words, Neji raised his hand and delivered a series of Juken strikes. Finally, Kidomaru was fiercely kicked to the ground. Before dying, Kidomaru incredulously asked Neji why he was still alive. The answer was simple. Neji had decided to intentionally be hit. He knew his own weaknesses better than anyone else. So, by releasing chakra within that range, he could sense the opponents as seriously injured. He would not die instantly. Kidomaru couldn't understand. Even so, why go to such lengths? Neji calmly said, among those he had fought. The strongest one had said, "You and I are different. You are not a lag," so he could not afford to lose. Soon, both Kidomaru and Neji entered a near-death state. The forehead, he was not willing to just die like this. Kidomaru still believed that the course of events would not change because of Neji's sacrifice. Sasuke had joined Orochimaru of his own free will, but Neji firmly believed that Naruto could rescue Sasuke from the darkness because he himself had been saved from the darkness by Naruto. At this point, Kidomaru could no longer sustain his shattered body and closed his eyes. Meanwhile, Neji collapsed weakly on the ground, repeatedly recalling his past. Whether it was happy or sad, it was uniquely irreplaceable. Now, he could only entrust the mission to his trustworthy comrades. Sakon and Tayuya, carrying Sasuke, hurried without wasting any time. As evening fell, Shikamaru and the others followed closely behind. With only 2 opponents left, Naruto and did not dare to relax. After nightfall, Shikamaru decided to wait until dawn to take action. Naruto immediately objected, and Kiba echoed Naruto's thoughts. However, Shikamaru believed that a night attack was too risky. If they couldn't seize the moment, the opponent would be on high alert. Hearing this, Naruto agreed to Shikamaru's tactics. According to Orochimaru's orders, Sasuke must be delivered by tomorrow. Thus, Tayuya and Sakon did not pause for a moment. In the forest shrouded by night, screams could be heard, constantly in excruciating pain due to the Hokage's seal, wishing only for Sasuke to come to him quickly. But Kabuto believed that Orochimaru's body had reached its limits. If the transference was not performed now, all would be lost. Holding a grudge against the 3rd Hokage, Orochimaru agreed to an early transference. Soon, Kabuto went deep into the stronghold, opened the sealed door, and said to the group of ninjas walking in the darkness, "I will let you out, but only one can go." The implication, translation: can Akimichi really defeat his enemies relying on secret pills? Akimichi's Nikudan Sensha did not seriously injure his opponent. As patience began to wane, Jirobo activated the first stage of the cursed seal. Akimichi was immediately knocked away with a punch. Jirobo, full of pride, taunted, "Waste always becomes expendable in critical." Struggling to his feet, Akimichi kept recalling the words his teacher and comrades had once said. "Akimichi, don't just focus on eating, train a bit too." Seeing Akimichi spacing out, Jirobo guessed he had hit a nerve and thus gathered his strength for another fierce attack. With no strength to retaliate, as Jirobo kept mocking, Akimichi, hearing the taunts about Shikamaru joining the pursuit team, grew angry. In his view, he was indeed weak, but Shikamaru always believed in him. Indeed, in Shikamaru's heart, Akimichi's strength was no less than that of Neji and Naruto. What he lacked was not power, but confidence. Finally, Akimichi was knocked down again. A butterfly flew by, reminding him of Shikamaru's encouragement and trust. This time, he swallowed a yellow pill, and instantly, chakra surged within him, replenishing his lost energy. As a teammate and a friend, he could not let down Shikamaru's trust. However, to Jirobo, such strength still seemed insufficient. With the power of the yellow pill, Akimichi used the Choza clan's secret technique, his right hand swelling in an instant, striking Jirobo squarely. Then, Akimichi continued to barrage Jirobo with hits. Provoked continuously, Jirobo, in a rage, grabbed Akimichi's arm and flung him into the air. Instead, Akimichi used this opportunity to smash down on Jirobo with the momentum of the fall, shaking the forest as Jirobo was slammed into the ground. Akimichi thought he had finally won, but before he could rise, Jirobo lifted him up. This strength was beyond Akimichi's imagination. Finally unleashing his full power, Jirobo activated the second stage of the cursed seal. Displeased to use his ultimate form against a waist, he flung Akimichi skyward, releasing Baikanojutsu. Seeing Jirobo's transformation, Akimichi was astonished, while Jirobo, arrogant, believed no one could withstand his power, now magnified more than tenfold. Wounded and suffering from the side effects of the secret medicine, Akimichi was immobilized, only able to watch as Jirobo approached. Jirobo kicked him disdainfully, commenting, "You lot are better suited for playing ninja games," a remark that reminded Akimichi of his childhood. Due to his sluggishness, his team always lost when he played ninja games. As Jirobo tightly gripped his neck, maintaining the second stage of the cursed seal consumed a great deal of chakra, so he attempted to absorb Akimichi's power, but was dissatisfied with the depleted chakra. Flung harshly, Akimichi tried to pick up a fallen bag of chips, only for Jirobo to snatch it first, leaving just one chip. Time returned to the past. Akimichi's slowness soon became an accepted fact among his peers, who no longer wished to team up with him. Rejected, Akimichi left alone, but his kindness caught the eye of a peer, Shikamaru. Gloomy, Akimichi confided in his father about being shunned by his peers. His father gently told him, "You are kinder and gentler than anyone. When you find friends who see these qualities in you, cherish them and become dependable companions." Akimichi nodded with a smile. Returning to the present, Jirobo viciously told Akimichi that after dealing with him, he would send Shikamaru and the others to hell. Elsewhere, Shikamaru was marking a tree, firmly believing that Akimichi could defeat Jirobo and catch up. Naruto and the others also left marks on the tree before moving on. At this moment, Akimichi was in a dire situation, holding only the most potent red pill, which would end his life once taken. Unaware of his friend's critical condition, Shikamaru always remembered the afternoon they became friends. That day, he met Akimichi and his father chatting on the rooftop and greeted them warmly, then told Akimichi it was his favorite spot to watch the clouds when the sky was clear. He invited Akimichi to join him, and they quickly became friends, sharing chips, and from that day forward, Shikamaru and Akimichi supported each other. Trapped Ukon was bleeding profusely. He could only place his desire for revenge on his brother Sakon, who was washing his eyes because it was time for him to go to sleep. Sakon never expected that his brother could be driven to such an extent. The brothers rejoined before falling asleep. Ukon reminded his brother that Kimimaro was fighting desperately for him, complained that Kabuto's provocation was somewhat cruel. However, Kabuto clarified that he had not given any orders. Kimimaro was acting purely out of his own will. For Orochimaru, Kimimaro was a perfect being. The young man revered him as a deity, willing to give his life unhesitatingly. Moreover, he came from a ninja clan with the strongest bodies and possessed an almost perfect Kekigenkai. If not for his Samaro had left the dense forest and come to a grassland. Naruto had caught up with him, his face fierce, barely able to suppress his inner anger. Kimimaro, however, remained terrifyingly calm. Naruto questioned Kimimaro why Orochimaru wanted Sasuke. Kimimaro did not hide the truth. Orochimaru had mastered the ninjutsu of immortality, but his body could not remain in its current state indefinitely. Therefore, before his body decayed, he needed a new body as a vessel for his soul. This revelation nearly drove Naruto berserk. The red chakra began to boil like burning flames. Sasuke really that important? To sacrifice so much for one person? Shikamaru his teammates, and he absolutely did not believe that his teammates had already been sacrificed. As their conversation went nowhere, Tayuya used Kuchiyose no Jutsu to summon 3 large puppets behind her. In the abyss, Kiba was continuously at a disadvantage. Although he touched the opponent, he could not inflict any damage, and instead, he was always hit by inexplicable attacks. Out of desperation, he and Akamaru resorted to using Gatsuga together. Kiba and Akamaru had no chance to counter. Sakon and Ukon were tired of this uninteresting game and opened the second stage of the cursed. Akamaru and Kiba immediately sensed their chakra surge tens of times higher. Meanwhile, under Kimimaro's fierce offensive, most of Naruto's shadow clones had dissipated, and Kimimaro was ready to fight seriously. Shikamaru was various situations. Akamaru suggested that Kiba use a recently developed ninjutsu, but Kiba hesitated, knowing it would deplete their chakra completely, likely resulting in their deaths. However, Sakon and Ukon's strength was too overwhelming, a white two-headed wolf. However, Sakon and Ukon did not consider Kiba a threat. The two-headed wolf started spinning rapidly, attacking them like a fierce tornado. Due to the earlier markings, Sakon and Ukon could not evade, and the high-speed rotational force tore their bodies in half. But just as Kiba breathed a sigh of relief, Sakon and Ukon's shattered bodies regrew limbs. It turned out the brothers could act independently, and Kiba's move was exactly what they expected. The real battle was just beginning, but Kiba and Akamaru were already near their limit. With only enough chakra left for one more use, Garuga attacked again. Sakon and Ukon immediately dodged behind 2 stone pillars. Kiba changed direction to continue the chase. However, the brothers quickly made hand seals, summoning the strongest defense to protect Orochimaru, Rashomon. The double-headed wolf's impact only left minor traces. Finally, Kiba and Akamaru both fell. Sakon and Ukon thought to take advantage of Akamaru a partner. Then, he realized Ukon had disappeared. Just as he was searching for Ukon, he heard a voice from beside his ear. It turned out Ukon had eerily merged into his body. Sakon hurriedly ran to the river to wash his eyes. Among the Sound Ninja 4, Ukon special destroying their meridian system. Kiba was passed with Akamaru. Kiba's family and the Ninken were partners. During the Chunin exams, Naruto also suffered a lot. Kiba and Akamaru. The red chakra boiled like burning flames, echoing throughout the forest. Shikamaru and Tayuya faced each other, with Tayuya puzzled. Is Sasuke really that important? To willingly sacrifice so much for one person. All he could do was trust his comrades, and he firmly believed that his teammates had not been sacrificed. Their conversation going nowhere, Tayuya summoned 3 massive puppets behind her using Kuchiyose no Jutsu. In the abyss, Kiba was constantly at a disadvantage in his fight against Sakon. For some reason, though he made contact receiving mysterious attacks. With no other options, he and Akamaru resorted to using Gatsuga together, only to be countered by Sakon and Ukon with elbows and even a third leg to block. According to Orochimaru and Kabuto, Sakon was the strongest of the Sound Ninja 4, who never left survivors. Elsewhere, Naruto summoned numerous shadow clones, preparing for a decisive battle with Kimimaro, who always looked down on others. His arrogance and confidence were founded on his strength. Despite Naruto's numerical advantage, Kimimaro could easily handle them. 2 white bone spikes protruded from his palms, and countless Narutos surged towards Kimimaro like a tide. Meanwhile, Tune and her 3 puppets launched an offensive against Shikamaru, who struggled to manage and was gradually forced away from Tayuya. Tayuya had already activated the first stage of the cursed seal. Kiba and Akamaru, having used Gatsuga, were repeatedly knocked back by Sakon and Ukon. It turned out Sakon and Ukon were brothers. Typically, the older brother Ukon would sleep inside and Akamaru no chance to counter. Sakon and Ukon grew tired of this unexciting game and initiated the second stage of the cursed seal, intending to quickly end the fight as Ukon's hobby was dismembering corpses. Akamaru and Kiba instantly sensed their chakra surge tenfold. Under Kimimara's fierce offensive, most of Naruto's shadow clones had dissipated, and Kimimaro was ready to get serious. Shikamaru was very passive, forced to continuously dodge Tayuya's techniques. On all three battlefields, the Konohagakure ninjas were in dire straits. Akamaru suggested, but Kiba hesitated, overwhelming, exceeding Kiba's capabilities. Now they had to take a risk and use Garuga to end it. Kiba first engaged Sakon and Ukon in close combat, then tightly restrained them, preventing them from moving. Akamaru took the opportunity to mark them. The duo quickly distanced themselves and merged into a white two-headed wolf. However, Sakon and Ukon did not consider Kiba a threat. The two-headed wolf began to spin rapidly, attacking them like a fierce tornado. Due to the earlier markings, Sakon and Ukon could not evade, and the high-speed rotational force tore their bodies in half. But just as Kiba breathed a sigh of relief, Sakon and Ukon's shattered bodies regrew limbs. It turned out the brothers could act independently, and Kiba's move was exactly what they expected. The real battle was just beginning, but Kiba and Akamaru were already at their limits, with only enough chakra left for one more use of Garuga. With no other choice, as Garuga attacked again, Sakon and Ukon immediately dodged behind two stone pillars. Kiba changed direction to continue the chase. However, the brothers quickly made hand seals, summoning the strongest defense to protect Orochimaru, Rashomon. The double-headed wolf's impact only left minor traces. Finally, Kiba and Akamaru both fell. Sakon and Ukon thought to take advantage of this, but Akamaru, to protect his master, expelled his last strength to spray strong acid, hitting Sakon's eyes. But he himself was severely injured by a punch from the opponent. Kiba was heartbroken as he considered Akamaru a partner. Then, he realized Ukon had disappeared. Just as he was searching for Ukon, he heard a voice from beside his ear. It turned out Ukon had eerily merged into his body. Sakon hurriedly ran. Elsewhere, Naruto was also feeling desolate, but on his way back, he encountered Sakura, who had come looking for him. Sakura had something she wanted to tell him. The cover of Night gave the Sound Ninja 4 the perfect opportunity. They surrounded Sasuke. They were resentful that Orochimaru thought so highly of Sasuke, so they came together to test Sasuke's strength and, incidentally, to complete Orochimaru's task. Sasuke, surrounded by the four, attacked, sending them tumbling in disarray. But after a cloud of smoke cleared, Sasuke realized he had been battling 4 wooden logs, while the Sound Ninja 4 stood at a distance, watching the spectacle. Their ease and composure of true masters thoroughly annoyed Sasuke. He glanced back with a grim expression. Sakon was annoyed by Sasuke's arrogant attitude. He was the first to rush out to battle Sasuke. As the two rapidly approached each other, Sasuke took out a chakra thread and wrapped it around Sakon's right foot. When they landed, Sasuke tightened the chakra thread, leaving Sakon immobilized and only able to react passively to Sasuke's offensive. Just as Sasuke's fist was about to strike, Sakon's lips curled into a sinister smile. With just a simple musical note, Sasuke was sent flying back as if struck by lightning. It was the first time witnessing such a bizarre technique. Sakon mockingly said, "Your bones make such a deep sound." Sasuke was momentarily unable to respond. Kidomaru spit out spider silk trying to bind Sasuke, but during Sasuke's attempt to dodge, he was sent flying by Jirobo, landing right in front of Sakon. However, Sasuke adjusted his posture to dodge the attack and immediately dove forward, kicking Sakon fiercely into the air, using a move he had utilized during the Chunin exams called Sisirendan. Ultimately, Sakon crashed through the roof amidst a cloud of dust and noise. Meanwhile, unaware of Sasuke's peril, Naruto was happily eating ramen. This was the first time Sakura had asked him out for a casual stroll, but Sakura appeared melancholic. Eventually, she revealed a long-kept secret to Naruto, that during the Chunin exams, Sasuke had been affected by Orochimaru's cursed seal, which had significantly changed his personality. Both Sasuke and Kakashi had instructed her not to tell Naruto, but now she no longer wanted to keep it hidden, especially since Sasuke's expression reminded her of that time. Speaking of Orochimaru, Naruto recalled an incident during their quest to find Tsunade, when Orochimaru single-handedly held his own against both Jiraiya and Tsunade, demonstrating his unfathomable strength. Naruto optimistically stated that Sasuke wouldn't fall for Orochimaru's tricks. However, Naruto underestimated Sasuke's desire to become stronger. On the other side, Sasuke was no match for the Sound Ninja 4, with Sakon remaining unscathed and dominating Sasuke effortlessly. He continuously belittled Sasuke's strength, saying it wasn't even half of Kimimara's. Although Sasuke was internally furious, he was helpless. The Sound Ninja 4 offered Sasuke the chance to join them and gain power from Orochimaru. As the curse seal reacted painfully, Sakon and Tayuya continued to mock him verbally. Sasuke forcibly activated the curse seal, roaring as he charged forward, but Sakon easily kicked him back to his original position. The Sound Ninja 4 also possessed Orochimaru's curse seal, but the power they gained came at the cost of their freedom, bound forever to Orochimaru. Tayuya told Sasuke that playing with his friends in the warm village would never allow him to avenge his brother Itachi, whose name profoundly stirred Sasuke's heart. During his moments of self-doubt and stagnation in strength, Orochimaru's offer was tempting. Their goal wasn't to forcibly take Sasuke, but to persuade him to willingly seek out Orochimaru. After finishing their piece, they simply turned and walked away, leaving autumn leaves drifting in the air. As Sasuke reached out to catch a falling leaf, a ferocious expression crawled across his face. Perhaps there truly was a telepathy of hearts under the same moonlit sky. Unbeknownst to Sakura, as she casually watched the breeze lift the leaves, she felt an inexplicable palpitation, while Naruto remained oblivious. After saying goodbye to Sakura, he even felt like having another bowl of noodles. Meanwhile, Sasuke stood quietly at home, closing the team photo on his desk, symbolizing his final severance from Konohagakure. On a silent night, Sasuke, with a backpack, walked the path leading out of the village. Unexpectedly, Sakura appeared. At that moment, Sasuke stopped, simply told her to go back to sleep, and passed by her without any attachment or explanation. But behind him, Sakura was already in tears, unable to stop Sasuke from walking away. She questioned why he wouldn't share anything with her. Sakura tried to retain Sasuke with the friendship of Team 7, from the initial formation of the team when she misspoke and annoyed Sasuke, to the Dazna mission. The bonds of friendship had slowly solidified through these trivial matters. She didn't want Sasuke to be lonely again, but Sasuke didn't look back. He acknowledged that Sakura made some sense, but such tender friendship couldn't help him grow. He had once thought Team 7 was where he belonged, but Naruto's growth and the enemy's mockery told him he was on the wrong path. He needed to embark on a new journey. Sasuke was expressionless, but his heart was not necessarily without turmoil. Humans are not plants, who can be heartless. Yet a life lived for revenge left no room for a girl's tears. In despair, Sakura shouted her confession, but it still did not sway Sasuke's decision. Coldly he said, "You really are annoying." Seeing no hope of reconciliation, Sakura quickly stepped forward, threatening to call out. Sasuke instantly appeared behind her and softly said, "Thank you, Sakura." A simple phrase that meant more than 1,000 words of expression. Sakura's tears were still falling down her face when she was unknowingly knocked unconscious by Sasuke. The evening breeze felt bleak. Sakura lay quietly on a chair, while Sasuke disappeared into her dreams. The Sound Ninja 4 knelt on the ground. Orochimaru had already instructed them that the moment Sasuke left the village, he would be the leader of the Sound Ninja 4. Sasuke was indifferent to the change in everyone's attitude towards him. He stood there as if he was born to be a leader. The morning bird call started as the gatekeepers, carrying thick files, went to see Tsunade for business, but stumbled upon the unconscious Sakura. Once Tsunade was informed of Sasuke's defection, she immediately sought out Shikamaru. This was his first mission as a Chunin, to retrieve Sasuke. Hearing the mission was urgent and could get complicated, Shikamaru's face involuntarily frowned. He thought such a task should be handled by a team of Jonin and Chunin, but Tsunade directly told him that was impossible as most Jonin were out on missions. Anyway, Shikamaru had to select excellent genin within half an hour to form his team and leave the village quickly. Ultimately, Tsunade recommended Naruto to Shikamaru, because, even if not recommended, he would have gone to find Sasuke alone. Naruto, still in his pajamas, was shocked by the news. He quickly changed and followed Shikamaru. They arrived at the Akimichi family's door, but no one answered their knocks. Naruto was a bit helpless, but Shikamaru nonchalantly pulled out a bag of chips, barbecue-flavored. Just as he ate the last chip, the door instantly opened and Akimichi grabbed the last piece. Naruto was speechless. The reason for choosing Akimichi was simple. They had always been teammates and worked well together. The rest of the team included Kiba and Neji. The gate slowly opened. Naruto was clearly unsure of his role in the mission. He commanded everyone to follow him, but Shikamaru reminded him that he was the team leader and they must listen to him. Shikamaru quickly demonstrated his tactical genius, arranging the team in a single-file line. The keenly perceptive Kiba and his dog Akamaru first, followed by the brains Shikamaru, the explosive Naruto, the powerful Akimichi, and finally, Neji, with his Byakugan. Although Shikamaru disliked trouble and wasn't fond of Sasuke, he recognized that Sasuke was a member of Konohagakure and their comrade. Therefore, he was prepared to risk his life to rescue Sasuke. Seeing Shikamaru like this, everyone finally recognized his worth as a chunin. Just as the pursuit squad was about to depart, Sakura arrived. Shikamaru saw her intentions and preemptively rejected her because her abilities were not sufficient. She would only be a hindrance. Sakura was frustrated, once again feeling helpless due to her lack of strength. Her two teammates had become excellent ninjas, while she could only hide in the background at such a critical moment. She tearfully begged Naruto to bring Sasuke back. Naruto finally understood Sakura's feelings for Sasuke and solemnly promised her, "I will definitely bring Sasuke back. This is our lifetime promise." The team finally set off. After leaving Konohagakure, the Sound Ninja 4 changed their demeanor. They surrounded Sasuke and told him that before meeting Lord Orochimaru, he must die once. Sasuke was startled by this revelation. Sakon pulled out a bottle containing a soldier pill, which could forcibly elevate Sasuke's cursed seal from level 1 to level 2, significantly boosting his power, but also accelerating the erosion caused by the cursed seal. Within minutes, a person could die. Sasuke remained calm, unfazed by the threat of death. A breeze rustled through the trees, and a falling leaf blocked the view of the cursed seal, reflecting Sasuke's internal conflict. Sakon handed the soldier pill to Sasuke. They would set up a barrier to mitigate the side effects of the cursed seal, turning real death into a state of feigned death. Sasuke no longer hesitated, and the reluctant leaf drifted away, just as Sasuke's attachment to Konohagakure seemed to dissipate. The drug quickly took effect, and Sasuke sat in agony on the ground. Sakon quickly placed him in a summoned wooden barrel, then called the other three to cast the 4 black mist formation. The black mist gathered in the air swiftly flew into the barrel, burying Sasuke completely. Now, it was up to Sasuke's willpower. Genma's team had just completed their mission. With their strong sensory abilities, they detected the Sound Ninja 4's movements. However, their tracking was discovered by the Sound Ninja 4, and a battle was imminent. The Konohagakure ninja quickly recognized the identity of the Sound Ninja 4, who immediately activated their cursed seal states. Sakon, holding a kunai, swiftly closed in. Genma countered by spitting out a toothpick to block the kunai flying through the air. Far away, Shizune had been waiting for her companions for a long time and decided to go to provide support. By the time they arrived at the scene, it was too late. The area was in disarray, with trees snapped and broken everywhere. Genma and Raidu were found on the ground, riddled with kunai and shuriken, barely conscious. Shizune quickly went forward to administer medical treatment. Fortunately, her medical skills were exceptional, and the two gradually regained consciousness. Another person recklessly considered pursuing the enemy alone, but Shizune immediately stopped this impulsive action. Genma also woke up in time. The enemy's techniques were no longer just simple ninjutsu. Recklessly pursuing them would only lead to certain death. Shikamaru's team was still on their way. Akamaru, with his sensitive sense of smell, detected the scent of blood. The team halted on the branches of a tree. At Shikamaru's prompt, they looked up and noticed an exploding tag attached to the tree, with 5 more in other locations. Neji, experienced and knowledgeable, recognized this as a barrier formation. If the enemy approached, an explosion would occur. They had no choice but to bypass it, because it involved high-level ninjutsu. Bypassing the formation meant navigating through numerous small traps scattered everywhere. Although troublesome, they were still manageable. Kiba reminded everyone to carefully avoid the invisible steel wires on the ground. But Naruto was about to step on one. Just in time, Shikamaru used his shadow possession jutsu, Kagemane no Jutsu, to control Naruto's actions. Though it was a challenging move, it fortunately did not trigger the traps. Shikamaru noticed a special aspect of the traps. Next to every visible metal wire, there was always a non-reflective green metal wire, a double trap setup that was difficult to anticipate. Given the meticulous nature of the traps, the enemy might not be far away. Neji immediately activated his Byakugan and, looking through the dense forest, pinpointed the enemy's resting place. The recent battle had drained the enemy physically due to the activation of their cursed seals, forcing them to rest. Shikamaru quickly formulated a strategy and commanded the team to split into two groups to approach the enemy stealthily. However, due to their lack of experience, Shikamaru's attempt at stealth was soon discovered by Kidomaru's strategically placed spiderwebs. Shikamaru hid under a bush to observe secretly, while Neji used his Byakugan to find Sasuke hidden inside a barrel. Suddenly, Sakon turned and shot a kunai with an exploding tag attached. The two tried to dodge, but it was too late. They were caught in the blast and unwittingly propelled toward the enemy. The four thought it was the Konohagakure Jonin again, but were surprised to find it was just a group of kids. Shikamaru stated they came to negotiate, but Kidomaru pulled on the spider silk, and Naruto and the other two were instantly yanked out of hiding. Kiba took the opportunity to throw a smoke bomb, but their first venture was not successful. The area was already covered with Kidomaru's spider silk, which was finer and stronger than metal wire and nearly invisible to the naked eye. Kidomaru boasted about his spider silk's prowess, but the next second, he found himself unable to move. Shikamaru had used his shadow possession jutsu to control the Sound Ninja 4. However, Sakon was not at all flustered. In the next second, countless shuriken flew from behind Shikamaru, breaking the shadow possession jutsu. Jirobo took advantage of the moment to launch his Earth Release, Earth Prison Dome, Doton Kekai, Dorodomu, trapping Shikamaru's team securely. Jirobo stayed behind to deal with the aftermath while the other three continued forward with Sasuke. Trapped, Shikamaru's team grew anxious. Kiba transformed into a human drill and created a large hole, but the walls self-repaired, indicating that this was no ordinary earth wall. Neji, using his Byakugan, saw something even more alarming. Jirobo was outside using a secret technique to continuously extract chakra from the 5 captives. Soon, everyone began to lose strength. Kiba ate military ration pills, and he and his dog launched their fang over fang, Gatsuga, turning into 2 large drills inside the cell, but to no avail. They only managed to create uneven holes. Naruto couldn't use his Rasengan, and at this critical moment, their situation became dire. As the team leader, Shikamaru was expected to stand out. However, after a long silence, Shikamaru surprisingly begged the enemy for mercy when he spoke. He was willing to give up on Sasuke, hoping the enemy would spare them, even if only one of them could be released. The impulsive Kiba loudly reprimanded Shikamaru. Jirobo thought there was discord within Shikamaru's team and mocked Shikamaru for being cowardly and fearful of confrontations, questioning if this is what a Konohagakure Chunin who gives up on Sasuke and betrays his comrades is like. However, inside the cell, Shikamaru was calm like a machine, constantly using his words to paralyze the enemy while observing the cell to think of a solution. Akimichi still remembered Shikamaru's words before they set off. Sasuke is a Konohagakure ninja, our comrade. Such a Shikamaru wouldn't possibly beg the enemy for mercy. Sure enough, Shikamaru began to take action. He had Kiba launch Gatsuga again, creating numerous holes in the wall. As the holes slowly repaired themselves at varying speeds, Neji used his Byakugan to find weak spots and mark them with kunai. Akimichi then used Baikano Jutsu to expand his body several times, before slamming into the weakest spot as Nikudan Sensha. Outside, Jirobo noticed something was wrong and desperately channeled chakra to strengthen the barrier, but it was too late. Soon, the wall was completely smashed by Akimichi, and Shikamaru's team escaped. Akimichi's perfect performance earned him Shikamaru's praise. Now, only Jirobo remained of the Sound Ninja 4. Although the barrier ninjutsu was broken, Jirobo continued to mock them, calling Shikamaru a useless brooding man and the rest of the team worthless. Naruto was about to step forward to teach him a lesson, but heard Akimichi firmly say, "Let me handle this guy." Akimichi then pulled out a bag of military ration pills and instructed Shikamaru to distribute them to everyone. He didn't need them because he had a secret weapon. Jirobo, underestimating the group of genin, quickly moved towards them. Akimichi stood in front of his comrades, pulling out 3 different colored pills from his pocket, and then swallowing the green pill. Soon, everyone was astonished to see Akimichi alone, blocking Jirobo's charge. At his urging, Shikamaru and the others continued chasing in the direction Sasuke had disappeared. Jirobo vowed to deal with Akimichi quickly, but was surprised by the extent of Akimichi's power boost. Akimichi gathered all his strength and hurled Jirobo away. On the other side, Naruto and the others had taken the military ration pills given by Akimichi. Shikamaru then revealed to his comrades that Akimichi had brought a secret medicine from the Choza clan for the mission, which could grant explosive power. However, Shikamaru left unsaid that the more powerful the medicine, the greater the side effects. The green pill, being the least effective, already caused Akimichi intense pain. Shikamaru silently prayed that Akimichi could handle Jirobo with just the green pill. Akimichi wrapped 2 strings of kunai around himself and launched Nikuden Sensya again. With the enhancement from the kunai, both his rotational force and destructive power greatly increased. Jirobo no longer underestimated his opponent and used his best earth techniques to block Akimichi's Nikuden Sensya. However, to his surprise, Akimichi easily broke through his defense. Jirobo was covered in wounds from the kunai. Meanwhile, racing through the forest, Kiba felt uneasy. Akamaru could judge an opponent's strength by scent, and Jirobo's strength was clearly off the charts. Could Akimichi really defeat the enemy with the secret medicine? Akimichi's Nikuden Sensya did not seriously injure his opponent. As patience began to wane, Jirobo activated the first stage of the cursed seal. Akimichi was immediately knocked away with a punch. Jirobo, full of pride, taunted, "Waste always becomes expendable in critical moments, and that's exactly what you are." Struggling to his feet, Akimichi kept recalling the words his teacher and comrades had once said. "Akimichi, don't just focus on eating, train a bit too." Seeing Akimichi spacing out, Jirobo guessed he had hit a nerve and thus gathered his strength for another fierce attack. With no strength to retaliate, as Jirobo kept mocking, Akimichi, hearing the taunts about Shikamaru joining the pursuit team, grew angry. In his view, he was indeed weak, but Shikamaru always believed in him. Indeed, in Shikamaru's heart, Akimichi's strength was no less than that of Neji and Naruto. What he lacked was not power, but confidence. Finally, Akimichi was knocked down again. A butterfly flew by, reminding him of Shikamaru's encouragement and trust. This time, he swallowed a yellow pill, and instantly, chakra surged within him, replenishing his lost energy. As a teammate and a friend, he could not let down Shikamaru's trust. However, to Jirobo, such strength still seemed insufficient. With the power of the yellow pill, Akimichi used the Choza clan's secret technique, his right hand swelling in an instant, striking Jirobo squarely. Then, Akimichi continued to barrage Jirobo with hits. Provoked continuously, Jirobo, in a rage, grabbed Akimichi's arm and flung him into the air. Instead, Akimichi used this opportunity to smash down on Jirobo with the momentum of the fall, shaking the forest as Jirobo was slammed into the ground. Akimichi thought he had finally won, but before he could rise, Jirobo lifted him up. This strength was beyond Akimichi's imagination. Finally unleashing his full power, Jirobo activated the second stage of the cursed seal. Displeased to use his ultimate form against a waist, he flung Akimichi skyward, releasing Baikanojutsu. Seeing Jirobo's transformation, Akimichi was astonished, while Jirobo, arrogant, believed no one could withstand his power, now magnified more than tenfold. Wounded and suffering from the side effects of the secret medicine, Akimichi was immobilized, only able to watch as Jirobo approached. Jirobo kicked him disdainfully, commenting, "You lot are better suited for playing ninja games," a remark that reminded Akimichi of his childhood. Due to his sluggishness, his team always lost when he played ninja games. As Jirobo tightly gripped his neck, maintaining the second stage of the cursed seal consumed a great deal of chakra, so he attempted to absorb Akimichi's power, but was dissatisfied with the depleted chakra. Flung harshly, Akimichi tried to pick up a fallen bag of chips, only for Jirobo to snatch it first, leaving just one chip. Time returned to the past. Akimichi's slowness soon became an accepted fact among his peers, who no longer wished to team up with him. Rejected, Akimichi left alone, but his kindness caught the eye of a peer, Shikamaru. Gloomy, Akimichi confided in his father about being shunned by his peers. His father gently told him, "You are kinder and gentler than anyone. When you find friends who see these qualities in you, cherish them and become dependable companions." Akimichi nodded with a smile. Returning to the present, Jirobo viciously told Akimichi that after dealing with him, he would send Shikamaru and the others to hell. Elsewhere, Shikamaru was marking a tree, firmly believing that Akimichi could defeat Jirobo and catch up. Naruto and the others also left marks on the tree before moving on. At this moment, Akimichi was in a dire situation, holding only the most potent red pill, which would end his life once taken. Unaware of his friend's critical condition, Shikamaru always remembered the afternoon they became friends. That day, he met Akimichi and his father chatting on the rooftop and greeted them warmly, then told Akimichi it was his favorite spot to watch the clouds when the sky was clear. He invited Akimichi to join him, and they quickly became friends, sharing chips, and from that day forward, Shikamaru and Akimichi supported each other. In his heart, Akimichi silently apologized to Shikamaru. He wished he could continue on with Shikamaru, but he knew his journey had to end here. Without hesitation, Akimichi pulled out the red pill and swallowed it. Jirobo's punch came crashing down. However, when the dust settled, Akimichi was nowhere to be seen. Instead, countless butterflies fluttered around. At that moment, chakra-condensed butterfly wings unfolded behind him, easily neutralizing Jirobo's attack. Enraged, Akimichi threw 3 powerful punches. The first punch avenged the theft of his last bite of food. The second retaliated against Jirobo's verbal insults. And the third was for Jirobo's disrespect towards Shikamaru, his best friend, whom he could never forgive for being insulted. Channeling all his chakra into his fist, Akimichi delivered a punch with the force of 1,000 jun, a massive blow that instantly killed Jirobo. Though he had defeated his opponent, Akimichi's life was now in grave danger. Picking up the forehead protector that had fallen to the ground, Akimichi gasped for air as the world around him began to blur. Yet, he still followed the guidance of the butterflies, staggering into the forest. Finally stopping in front of a tree, Akimichi saw the mottled marks on it, marks that were a testament to their friendship. The journey of growth and companionship brought tears to his eyes. He could finally tell his father that he had indeed made many good friends. The side effects of the medicine relentlessly ravaged his body, and no longer able to move forward, Akimichi leaned against the tree trunk and slowly sat down. His hands fell limp, and his forehead protector dropped to the ground. Meanwhile, a butterfly fluttered past Shikamaru's ear, causing him to look back towards where Akimichi was. An inexplicable premonition of dread filled him, but the mission had to continue. He could only move forward. Akimichi, leaning against the tree trunk, fell unconscious under the sunlight. Naruto and his team quickly flashed through the forest. After scouting, Kiba and Neji discovered that they were getting closer to their target. Along the way, they encountered no traps, which suggested that the enemy believed only Jirobo could catch up to them. Shikamaru decided to take advantage of the enemy's underestimation. Meanwhile, Kidomaru and others were not far away. Sakon complained about Jirobo being too slow, but just as he finished speaking, Jirobo appeared. Tayuya, always temperamental, scolded him. "You fat pig, don't think about slacking off. Hurry up and carry the coffin, that's your task." Jirobo responded indifferently, but the other 3 immediately stopped in their tracks as they realized that this person was not Jirobo. During the conversation, Kidomaru tossed the coffin to Tayuya, instructing her and Sakon to keep moving. Once their identities were exposed, Shikamaru immediately punched at Kidomaru, who easily caught the attack. Jirobo always cautioned Tayuya about her language, which is why Shikamaru's disguise was seen through. Kidomaru then spat out a web to bind Shikamaru. Before he could continue, Naruto surrounded him from behind. However, Kidomaru spat out a white substance, molded it into a huge spiderweb, and firmly stuck Naruto's shadow clone. While Kidomaru was in freefall, Kiba attacked with Gatsuga, but Kidomaru grabbed a spider thread and dodged. Kiba, instead, got his feet tangled in a spider thread preset by the opponent. Kidomaru then hung upside down on a tree trunk. Neji suddenly launched a surprise attack from behind, but was once again dodged by Kidomaru. Soon, Neji also fell into the opponent's trap and couldn't move. At this point, all four had completely fallen. Kidomaru wrapped Neji into a cocoon. Naruto realized that this spider web was unusual, as ordinary swords could not cut through it. According to Neji's Byakugan observation, there was chakra flowing through Kidomaru's spider silk, indicating some kind of ninjutsu. Seeing Naruto unable to move, Kidomaru whimsically used ninpo, spider sticky gold. The originally soft spider silk instantly became extremely hard. Kidomaru then threw out a dart, and one of Naruto's clones immediately dissipated. The threat of death slowly approached Naruto as Kidomaru continuously threw darts, and Naruto's clones kept decreasing. Just as only one remained, Kidomaru, who was complaining about the boredom of the game, threw out the last dart. But then he realized that all the trapped Narutos were just clones, and the real Naruto had already attacked from behind. However, Kidomaru quickly neutralized Naruto's assault and took control of him. Just as Kidomaru was about to strike Naruto, Neji, who was supposed to be wrapped in a cocoon, suddenly appeared. The Hyuga clan's Juken, which can destroy any chakra product, proved that only Neji could deal with Kidomaru. Neji didn't hesitate and said, "Let's go. I'll handle this guy." However, from Akamaru's continuous retreat, it was evident that this person was even more formidable than Jirobo. But Neji understood that without a one-for-one mindset, completing the mission would be impossible. They had to protect not only Sasuke but also the bonds of Konohagakure. Just as Iruka had said at the third Hokage's funeral, many people die from missions or wars, but everyone holds something dear in their hearts, and emotions deepen over time. For this reason, risking one's life needs no justification. Those who cherish bonds would do so. Neji stared intently at Naruto and said, "Your eyes are even more perceptive than mine. Go. Sasuke is still in the darkness." With that, Naruto, Shikamaru, and Kiba did not hesitate any longer and immediately set off. Kidomaru tried to pursue with spider silk, but Neji activated his Byakugan and used Juken to cut off all his spider webs. Faced with such a powerful opponent, Kidomaru also became interested. He spat out countless spider webs to block Neji's movements. While Neji dodged continuously and defended with Juken, a lapse allowed Kidomaru to seize an opportunity. Kidomaru noticed Neji's special eyes and the sharp chakra released from his fingers, which was his power. Thus, Kidomaru thought that by trapping Neji's hands, he would no longer be able to cut the spider silk. Kidomaru spat out a spider sticky gold, preparing to harvest Neji's life. Neji slowly closed his eyes and gathered strength, instantly breaking through the spider silk's restraint. Kidomaru's attack missed, and Neji quickly closed in on Kidomaru. It turned out Juken was not limited to just the hands. He could release chakra from all the acupoints on his body. Now that Kidomaru had entered Neji's attack range, Kidomaru tried to dodge hastily, but Neji didn't give him a chance to escape. Faced with Hakarokuju Yonshio, Kidomaru could hardly parry and was fiercely blasted away. But to Neji's surprise, before the dust settled, Kidomaru had already gotten up. It turned out that Kidomaru had wrapped his entire body in hardened spider silk, and his abilities seemed to complement each other perfectly. His spider silk was not limited to just his mouth. It could also be secreted from the sweat glands all over his body. The spider silk covering his entire body could block the invasion of chakra, rendering Neji's continued use of Juken futile. Meanwhile, Kidomaru was also analyzing Neji's abilities. The troublesome Juken was clearly a close-range attack, so he prepared to attack Neji's defensive blind spots from a distance. The next second, Kidomaru disappeared from his spot. Neji constantly scanned the surroundings with his Byakugan, while Kidomaru hid in the trees and launched a surprise attack with a kunai. Neji, who was on guard, quickly dodged, but he didn't realize that the kunai thrown by Kidomaru was just a decoy, followed by a barrage of spider-sticky gold arrows. In a moment of urgency, Neji could only use Daytime Tiger for all-around defense. Seeing the arrows being deflected, Kidomaru was shocked. Neji, who had deflected the attack, threw a kunai back in retaliation. At this moment, Kidomaru finally realized that the Byakugan not only could see the flow of chakra, but also had almost a 360-degree field of view. Long-distance combat was disadvantageous for Neji. This move was to force Kidomaru to reveal himself. But Kidomaru activated the first stage of the cursed seal. Neji noticed that the opponent's chakra had been greatly enhanced, and his appearance reminded him of Sasuke. Kidomaru used Kuchiyose no Jutsu to summon a spider. Since the opponent defended by rotating chakra, he decided to hinder the rotation. The giant spider's abdomen was slashed open, and countless small spiders swarmed towards Neji. Neji immediately defended with Daytime Tiger, but his chakra got entangled by the small spider's webs, forcing him to stop the rotation. Kidomaru took the opportunity to shoot arrows, but they were still deflected by Neji. Daytime Tiger was becoming difficult to maintain. In the ensuing fight, Neji could only dodge one by one, while Kidomaru maintained a safe distance, launching a combined attack with spider silk and arrows. Having lost the defense of Daytime Tiger, Neji could only counter the small spiders with Hakaroku Juyonsho. But with the overwhelming number of spiders, Neji changed tactics and used Hyakuni Juhatishu to eliminate all the incoming spiders. Kidomaru, hiding in the shadows, intensified the spider assault. Finally, an arrow pierced Neji's body, allowing Kidomaru to further understand Neji's abilities. Neji seemed to accurately sense attacks within 50 meters, yet he had not dodged just now. Kidomaru spurred the spiders again. Just as Neji was about to use Juken, an arrow struck him squarely in the back. Kidomaru had finally deciphered the secret of Neji's eyes, intensifying his attack. Neji was repeatedly injured. It turned out that Byakugan was not perfect, and Daytime Tiger existed to compensate for this flaw. Neji, lying on the ground, struggled to stand up. The opponent's words, "You are destined not to win against me," reminded him of the times he had always defeated Lee in training. Back then, Neji was hailed as a genius by his peers, but in Lee's view, he could surpass a genius with effort. Back then, Neji concluded that no matter how hard you try, you cannot win against me. It's predetermined. He had said the same to Hinata until his fight with Naruto changed his mind. Naruto's steadfast beliefs changed him. Amidst these memories, Kidomaru's attack came again. A huge spider smashed down towards Neji, who used Juken to completely shatter the spider. However, countless arrows followed immediately. Neji was hit by several arrows. Seeing this, Kidomaru prepared to leave. Yet Neji stood up again, though unsteadily, fortunately avoiding fatal injury. Kidomaru activated the second stage of the cursed seal. Kidomaru transformed his spider silk into a bow and arrow with destructive power, his strongest attack mode. The golden arrows whistled towards Neji's back. A huge explosion sounded, yet Neji dodged the attack. At this moment, Neji finally confirmed that the opponent had mastered the secret of the Byakugan. Staring at the spiral wound on Neji's back, Kidomaru realized that the attack had missed by several centimeters. The immense energy had displaced the arrow. As a fellow ninja, he understood how painful releasing such an amount of chakra could be. Now, Neji struggled to rise, facing the strongest opponent he had ever met. After only a brief exchange, Kidomaru had grasped his weakness. The Byakugan indeed had a narrow blind spot. For attacks aimed at the first thoracic vertebra, the Byakugan could not see. Suddenly, Neji moved. As he ran, he pulled out the arrow stuck in his back. Moving indeed made the blind spot unpredictable. But this was meaningless to Kidomaru. He drew another arrow and began to aim. As Neji ran dodging, this time the arrow's tail was connected to the spider silk from Kidomaru's mouth, allowing the angle to be controlled during flight, thus constantly aiming at Neji's blind spot. Amidst a cloud of dust, Neji's forehead protector was blown away, and blood seemed to pierce through his skull. Seeing the spider silk, Neji immediately realized how Kidomaru controlled the direction. When the attack missed again, Kidomaru leaped to the treetops, creating a rapidly spinning arrow. In this way, he could avoid the previous mistake. Combined with the control of the spider silk, Neji would surely not survive. Neji's chakra was nearly depleted, and he could no longer dodge the opponent's next attack. But remembering Naruto's determined gaze, Neji made his decision at that moment. Kidomaru drew his bow and aimed a powerful arrow straight at Neji, who turned around. The arrow hit Neji squarely and even pierced through the large tree behind him. This time, Kidomaru was certain that his opponent could not survive. However, Neji smiled. He used the last of his strength to grasp the spider silk and execute Juken. Chakra flowed up the spider silk and struck Kidomaru's body directly. Kidomaru fell straight from the tree. In his view, Neiji's dying counterattack was futile. Neji, covered in blood, continually recalled every word and action of Naruto. From that day, Neji believed he could change his own fate. He could not let down Naruto's trust in him. After all, Naruto genuinely believed Neji was a genius. Thinking this, Neji quickly cut the spider silk and ran towards the falling Kidomaru. Just as Kidomaru regained control of his body, Neji was already in front of him. Without any words, Neji raised his hand and delivered a series of juken strikes. Finally, Kidomaru was fiercely kicked to the ground. Before dying, Kidomaru incredulously asked Neji why he was still alive. The answer was simple. Neji had decided to intentionally be hit. He knew his own weaknesses better than anyone else. So, by releasing chakra within that range, he could sense the opponent's attack in advance and thus avoid vital points. Although still seriously injured, he would not die instantly. Kidomaru couldn't understand. Even so, you will eventually die. Why go to such lengths? Neji calmly said. Among those he had fought, the strongest one had said, "You and I are different. You are not a laggard." Neji was always called a genius, so he could not afford to lose. Soon, both Kidomaru and Neji entered a near-death state. The forehead protector on the ground reminded Neji of Hiyashi's words. He was not willing to just die like this. Kidomaru still believed that the course of events would not change because of Neji's sacrifice. Sasuke had joined Orochimaru of his own free will, but Neji firmly believed that Naruto could rescue Sasuke from the darkness because he himself had been saved from the darkness by Naruto. At this point, Kidomaru could no longer sustain his shattered body and closed his eyes. Meanwhile, Neji collapsed weakly on the ground, repeatedly recalling his past. Whether it was happy or sad, it was uniquely irreplaceable. Now, he could only entrust the mission to his trustworthy comrades. Sakon and Tayuya, carrying Sasuke, hurried without wasting any time. As evening fell, Shikamaru and the others followed closely behind. With only 2 opponents left, Naruto and Kiba seemed to see the light of victory. But Shikamaru, as the team leader, remained vigilant and did not dare to relax. After nightfall, Shikamaru decided to wait until dawn to take action. Naruto immediately objected. However, Shikamaru believed that a night attack was too risky. If they couldn't seize the moment, the opponent would be on high alert. Hearing this, Naruto agreed to Shikamaru's tactics. According to Orochimaru's orders, Sasuke must be delivered by tomorrow. Thus, Tayuya and Sakon did not pause for a moment. In the forest shrouded by night, screams could be heard. It was Orochimaru, whose hands were bloodied and constantly in excruciating pain due to the Hokage's seal, wishing only for Sasuke to come to him quickly. But Kabuto believed that Orochimaru's body had reached its limits. If the transference was not performed now, all would be lost. Holding a grudge against the third Hokage, Orochimaru agreed to an early transference. Soon, Kabuto went deep into the stronghold, opened the sealed door, and said to the group of ninjas walking in the darkness, "I will let you out, but only one can go." The implication was clear. After saying this, Kabuto turned and left, heading to Kimimaro's room. The seriously ill Kimimaro was filled with various tubes, regretting not being able to carry out the mission. Kabuto feigned comfort, telling him not to think too much, and to take good care of his health. Orochimaru had already found a replacement, someone with the power of the Earth-Cursed Seal, and also granted him the Heaven-Cursed Seal. He also possessed a Kekkei Genkai. Who is stronger compared to you? Already brainwashed, Kimimaro immediately became agitated. Kimimaro had always been searching for his purpose in this world, believing he had found it as Orochimaru's vessel. But Kabuto indicated that he had lost this qualification. The new vessel was already on its way. Meanwhile, the only survivor slowly walked to the exit, but Orochimaru appeared beside him, seemingly surrounded by a giant snake, understanding his fate. He hoped Orochimaru would release his clan members. Orochimaru agreed. With a scream, his body was forcibly taken over by Orochimaru. As a result, Orochimaru would not be able to transfer bodies for the next few years, and Sasuke was being prepared as the next vessel. Kimimaro forcefully got up. He was determined to bring Sasuke back, even if it cost him his life. This was to repay Orochimaru's kindness. On the other side, Sasuke was about to awaken, but Naruto and his team had already reached Tayuya and Sakon. After a night of pursuit, they had finally caught up with them. Sakon immediately lunged at the trio. Naruto quickly summoned clones and started forming a Rasengan. Kiba and Shikamaru rushed forward to intercept, but were hit by Sakon's barrage of punches. Just as Sakon reached them, Naruto's Rasengan struck. However, his hands were caught in an unusual manner by the opponent, causing the Rasengan to dissipate. Sakon thought he had the upper hand, but the next second, a Gatsuga went right through Naruto's body. It turned out that this Naruto was also a clone. Sakon quickly ducked to evade, but Kiba charged directly at Tayuya behind him. Tayuya tried to dodge, but was frozen in place by Shikamaru's Kagemane no Jutsu. Kiba took the opportunity to grab the coffin and escape. Meanwhile, Tayuya collided with Sakon under Shikamaru's control. The trio immediately fled. An annoyed Sakon activated the first stage of the cursed seal and chased after them. Elsewhere, Kimimaro had left the base and was slowly approaching Naruto and his group. With the close coordination of Naruto and Kiba, the group finally retrieved the coffin containing Sasuke. Akamaru had laid exploding tags along the retreat path. As soon as Sakon stepped into the trap, he was engulfed in roaring explosions. Dust and smoke rose everywhere, but Sakon was not seriously injured. Instead, Akamaru slipped and fell, giving Sakon an opportunity. He threw out a steel wire and firmly bound Akamaru. Seeing the exploding tags about to blow, Kiba rushed forward recklessly to rescue him, but he and Sakon fell into a deep abyss in the forest together. Naruto was frantic, but Tayuya had already caught up. Shikamaru decided he would handle Tayuya, allowing Naruto to proceed with the coffin. However, Tayuya suddenly stopped in shock. At the same time, a figure dropped from the sky behind Naruto and Shikamaru. Kimimaro gently kicked and took back the coffin. He reprimanded Tayuya for being too slow. This container was carrying Kimimaro's important dream. Although Kimimaro appeared calm and composed, the aura he emitted made Shikamaru very uneasy. Just as he was contemplating a strategy, Naruto charged towards the opponent, but was sent flying by a punch from Tayuya. Kimimaro didn't intend to fight. He leaned over and threatened Tayuya. "I will not kill you now because you must stay alive. Naruto and Shikamaru are yours to deal with," he said, then carried the coffin and left directly. Naruto gritted his teeth, wishing he could immediately chase after him. Soon, Shikamaru stood up, seriously saying it was 2 against 1, which was advantageous for them. Then, he and Naruto attacked together. Tayuya quickly prepared for battle, blocking Shikamaru's kunai head-on, but then Naruto unexpectedly jumped over her head. This was their real strategy. Shikamaru would hold Tayuya back while Naruto chased after Kimimaro. Although Tayuya was furious, she still alertly dodged Shikamaru's Kagemane no Jutsu. Naruto rapidly advanced forward, inwardly cheering for Shikamaru. In the base, the newly revived Orochimaru, knowing that Kimimaro was fighting desperately for him, complained that Kabuto's provocation was somewhat cruel. However, Kabuto clarified that he had not given any orders. Kimimaro was acting purely out of his own will. For Orochimaru, Kimimaro was a perfect being. The young man revered him as a deity, willing to give his life unhesitatingly. Meanwhile, Kimimaro had left the dense forest and come to a grassland. Naruto had caught up with him, his face fierce, barely able to suppress his inner anger. Kimimaro, however, remained terrifyingly calm. Naruto questioned Kimimaro why Orochimaru wanted Sasuke. Kimimaro did not hide the truth. Orochimaru had mastered the ninjutsu of immortality, but his body could not remain in its current state indefinitely. Therefore, before his body decayed, he needed a new body as a vessel for his soul. This revelation nearly drove Naruto berserk. The red chakra began to boil like burning flames deep in the forest. Shikamaru faced off against Tayuya, who was puzzled. Is Sasuke really that important? To sacrifice so much for one person? Shikamaru, with a calm expression, admitted he was not suited to be a team leader, and was unsure if his decisions were correct. However, the only thing he could do was trust his teammates, and he absolutely did not believe that his teammates had already been sacrificed. As their conversation went nowhere, Tayuya used Kuchiyose no Jutsu to summon 3 large puppets behind her. In the abyss, Kiba was continuously at a disadvantage in his fight against Sakon. For some reason, although he touched the opponent, he could not inflict any damage, and instead, he was always hit by inexplicable attacks. Out of desperation, he and Akamaru resorted to using Gatsuga together, but they were elbowed by Sakon and Ukon. Even a third foot appeared to block them. According to Orochimaru and Kabuto, Sakon was the strongest of the Sound Ninja Four, never leaving survivors in battle. Elsewhere, Naruto summoned many shadow clones, preparing for a decisive battle with Kimimaro, who always looked down on others. This arrogance and confidence came from his strength. Although Naruto had a numerical advantage, he could easily clear them away. 2 white bone spikes extended from his palms, and countless Narutos surged toward Kimimaro like a tide. Meanwhile, Tayuya played a melodious tune, and the 3 puppets launched an offensive against Shikamaru, who struggled to cope and was gradually forced away from Tayuya. Tayuya had already activated the first stage of the Cursed Seal. Kiba and Akamaru, who had used Gatsuga, were successively knocked away by Sakon and Ukon. It turned out Sakon and Ukon were brothers. Usually, as the older brother, Ukon would sleep inside Sakon's body, only appearing during battle. Moreover, Ukon could extend limbs from any part of the body for attack and defense. Kiba and Akamaru had no chance to counter. Sakon and Ukon were tired of this uninteresting game and opened the second stage of the Cursed Seal, planning to quickly end the fight as Ukon's hobby was dismembering corpses. Akamaru and Kiba immediately sensed their chakra surge tens of times higher. Meanwhile, under Kimimaro's fierce offensive, most of Naruto's shadow clones had dissipated, and Kimimaro was ready to fight seriously. Shikamaru was very passive on his side, Tayuya's techniques forcing him to constantly dodge. On all 3 battlefields, the Konohagakure people were in perilous situations. Akamaru suggested that Kiba use a recently developed ninjutsu, but Kiba hesitated, knowing it would deplete their chakra completely. However, Sakon and Ukon's strength was too overwhelming. Now they had to take a risk and use Garuga to end it. Kiba first engaged Sakon and Ukon in close combat, then tightly restrained them, preventing them from moving. Akamaru took the opportunity to mark them. The duo quickly distanced themselves and merged into a white 2-headed wolf. However, Sakon and Ukon did not consider Kiba a threat. The 2-headed wolf started spinning rapidly, attacking them like a fierce tornado. Due to the earlier markings, Sakon and Ukon could not evade, and the high-speed rotational force tore their bodies in half. But just as Kiba breathed a sigh of relief, Sakon and Ukon's shattered bodies regrew limbs. It turned out the brothers could act independently, and Kiba's move was exactly what they expected. The real battle was just beginning, but Kiba and Akamaru were already near their limit, with only enough chakra left for one more use of Garuga. With no other choice, as Garuga attacked again, Sakon and Ukon immediately dodged behind 2 stone pillars. Kiba changed direction to continue the chase. However, the brothers quickly made hand seals, summoning the strongest defense to protect Orochimaru, Rashomon. The double-headed wolf's impact only left minor traces. Finally, Kiba and Akamaru both fell. Sakon and Ukon thought to take advantage of this, but Akamaru, to protect his master, expelled his last strength to spray strong acid, hitting Sakon's eyes, but he himself was severely injured by a punch from the opponent. Kiba was heartbroken as he considered Akamaru a partner. Then, he realized Ukon had disappeared. He heard a voice from beside his ear. It turned out Ukon had eerily merged into his body. Sakon hurriedly ran to the river to wash his eyes. Among the Sound Ninja Four, Ukon specialized in assassination, relying on this ability, the parasitic demon destruction technique. In the second stage of the Cursed Seal, he would disperse his body to enter the enemy's body, destroying their meridian system. Kiba restrained Ukon's actions while recalling his past with Akamaru. Kiba's family and the Ninken were partners. During the Chunin exams, Naruto also suffered a lot at the hands of this duo. The bond between Kiba and Akamaru, reflecting in every little aspect of life. Suddenly Kiba couldn't figure out how to counter the opponent's ninjutsu, but he caught an important piece of information in Ukon's words. My cells can move freely inside your body, which means a slight state of fusion. Only to see Kiba suddenly pull out a kunai, and without hesitation stab it into his own stomach. Both Kiba and Ukon spurted blood at the same time. This was the only way to counter this move. The intense pain made both Kiba and Ukon scream in agony. Ukon was well aware that his ninjutsu was powerful because it hid inside the opponent's body, making it unattackable. Someone like Kiba, willing to die with him, was unprecedented. Kiba raised the kunai again. Seeing that the opponent did not hesitate, Ukon hurriedly left Kiba's body. Such a severe injury made him start to weaken. While Kiba was at his wit's end, he threw a smoke bomb and took the chance to hide. When the smoke cleared, Ukon could no longer find Kiba's trace, only to see the injured Akamaru left behind. He approached, intending to end the life of the ninken, but Kiba would never abandon his companion. Suddenly, Akamaru's body began to swell and exploded, shooting out numerous hidden weapons. Finding that Akamaru was not in immediate danger, cried with joy, but his injuries were no less severe than Akamaru's. The story of Kiba and Akamaru began one afternoon. That day, Kiba's mother and sister brought Akamaru to him, reminding him that from that moment on, he was responsible for everything about Akamaru. The man and dog quickly became best friends. To become stronger, they worked together to develop new ninjutsu. Perhaps because of Akamaru's presence, Kiba never felt alone. Thinking of this, Kiba secretly made up his mind. No matter what happens in the future, he would never part with Akamaru. The trapped Ukon was bleeding profusely. He could only place his desire for revenge on his brother Sakon, who was washing his eyes because it was time for him to go to sleep. Sakon never expected that his brother could be driven to such an extent. The brothers rejoined before falling asleep. Ukon reminded his brother to make sure to capture the person who hurt him. Meanwhile, Naruto was also caught in a tense battle. He had thought he could easily win against Kimimaro with a numerical advantage, but his opponent's strength was too formidable. As his shadow clones kept getting fewer, Naruto controlled the three in the front to engage in close combat. But it was equally futile. Kimimaro, wielding a bone spike, charged with Willow Dance. Naruto's shadow clones could hardly resist disappearing into smoke one after another. Then, with each move, he managed to scatter a few clones, and Naruto finally discovered the secret of the opponent's weapon. The spike was actually made of bone. This was Kimimaro's Kekkei Genkai. He opened his shirt to reveal pale skin, bones rapidly growing and extending from his shoulders. He pulled out his own bones, turning them into a sharp blade. Naruto immediately threw two kunai, but Kimimaro blocked them with his bone blade. He could control the density of calcium, making his bones as hard as steel. Kimimaro also mastered 5 dances. While talking, a coffin carrying Sasuke began emitting purple smoke, and Kimimaro was ready to show his camellia dance. In the depths, Sakon and Ukon followed the dripping blood towards Kiba. Blood loss was making Kiba increasingly sluggish, but he could not just wait to die. Sakon and Ukon found Kiba's blood-stained coat by the river. From the direction of the bloodstains, it was clear that Kiba had escaped along the river. In the forest, Shikamaru, cornered by 3 puppets, had no way out. This was the cleverness of Tayuya. After long training, she could cleverly use the opportunity to have the 3 puppets spread out and besiege Shikamaru. But Shikamaru realized that Tayuya was controlling the puppets' movements through her flute music, and each tune of her flute controlled different actions of the puppets. But Shikamaru could not understand the notes. He thought the notes looked like tadpoles, and the irritable Tayuya also had murderous intentions. She began to play her final piece, Demonic Realm Turmoil. The melody became increasingly high-pitched and shrill. The 3 puppets simultaneously pounced on Shikamaru perched on the trunk. Shikamaru quickly retreated. The tree trunk was smashed to pieces. The next second, the puppet's sealed mouth suddenly opened. 3 semi-transparent substances like spirits flew out, directly pouncing at Shikamaru. Shikamaru couldn't avoid it and was bitten. Shikamaru could only resort to using his last exploding tag and a smoke bomb. Taking cover in the smoke, he hid in the bushes to observe the enemy's movements. From just one round of contact, Shikamaru realized how terrifying the strange spirits were. They could actually devour his chakra. If the struggle continued, Shikamaru's chakra would be completely drained. Tayuya's ninjutsu was clearly a secret technique, so the best approach was to target Tayuya herself, and the quickest way to do that was to stop her flute playing. However, getting close to Tayuya seemed almost like a fool's dream. Apart from that, Perhaps only the Kagamane no Jutsu could capture those spirits, but the three spirits always coordinated closely. If he targeted one, the other two would attack him. Shikamaru was left with only 12 kunai, 9 shuriken, some wire, a flash bomb, and 1 exploding tag. His situation was perilously dire. Kiba, having removed his jacket, followed the river downstream. Akamaru's condition was grim. He was at the point where he could no longer eat. Kiba wiped away his tears, placed Akamaru on his head, and continued to feel his way forward. Under the onslaught of Kimimara's Camellia dance, Naruto's shadow clones rapidly diminished, and the smoke emanating from the coffin grew denser. The sound of the flute in the forest did not cease. In Tayuya's view, Shikamaru's constant hiding was pointless. As long as he couldn't decipher the puppet's movements, the advantage remained in her hands. Meanwhile, Shikamaru, lying in wait, seemed to have devised a plan. According to his calculations, he needed to settle the score with Tayuya within 9 attacks. Armed with the last exploding tag-laden kunai, he aimed it at the large tree where Tayuya stood. The booming explosion ensued, but Tayuya quickly dodged, easily moving out of the blast radius. Such tactics were ineffective against her. Driven by the flute's commands, the 3 puppets searched everywhere for Shikamaru's trace. Using the sound of the explosion as cover, Shikamaru secretly threw a kunai rigged with a flash bomb towards the tree trunk above Tayuya. The 3rd kunai was launched, anticipated by Tayuya, who controlled the puppets to block it. Another puppet swiftly attacked the source of the kunai, but found no trace of Shikamaru. Shikamaru, using the elasticity of the branches, launched another kunai attack at Tayuya, but several consecutive attacks missed. Finally, Shikamaru appeared in front of Tayuya, just as the 3 puppets charged at him. He shot a kunai that snagged the flash bomb's cord, triggering the flash. In the bright light, the reach of Shikamaru's Kagamane no Jutsu was maximized, and he ultimately controlled all 3 puppets. Tayuya was incredulous, unable to understand how Shikamaru could anticipate the puppets' movements. It turned out that from the beginning, Shikamaru wasn't listening to the music. He was only watching Tayuya's fingers. The sounds produced by her right index finger, ring finger, and left middle and pinky fingers controlled the central puppet. Shikamaru carefully observed Tayuya's fingers and the puppet's movements and memorized them. Now, no matter how Tayuya played the flute, the 3 puppets remained motionless. The greatest advantage of Shikamaru's Kagamane no Jutsu was turning the opponent's pieces against them. After saying this, Shikamaru pulled a kunai from a puppet and prepared to counterattack. Tayuya admitted that her only weapon was the flute. Without hesitation, Shikamaru controlled the puppets and charged at Tayuya together with them. Tayuya calmly made hand seals with one hand, and the puppets disappeared. Tayuya thought the advantage had swung back to her side, but she was shocked to find she couldn't control her body. It turned out the previous puppets had served their purpose. Shikamaru had used them as a diversion to get close to Tayuya and used shadows to control her. Tayuya realized too late that she had fallen completely into Shikamaru's trap. Now she had to overpower him completely in terms of strength, so she activated the 2nd stage of the cursed seal, intending to forcefully break the shadow's hold. Given Tayuya's immense chakra, this was not impossible. Seeing this, Shikamaru prepared to use the shadow strangle jutsu. Shadows began to creep slowly towards Tayuya's neck, but the distance between them was great, making it difficult for Shikamaru to win in terms of strength. Tayuya raised her flute again and began to play, using the demonic flute, illusory soundbind. Instantly, Shikamaru's surroundings changed. He knew Tayuya had placed him under a genjutsu, causing the shadow binding Tayuya to retreat. The advantage Shikamaru had just gained was easily reversed. Now he felt as if he was bound by ropes, unable to move. Under the relentless torture of the flute's sound, Shikamaru's body began to dissolve. A look of terror crossed Shikamaru's face. Tayuya picked up a kunai dropped by Shikamaru, intending to deliver the final deadly blow. However, when she approached Shikamaru, she was unexpectedly punched by him. It turned out that Shikamaru had already entangled his fingers with shadows, using the pain to break the genjutsu's hold. The reason he pretended to be in agony was to lure Tayuya closer to him. In doing so, the binding force of the shadow strangle jutsu was maximized. Even the misfired kunai was a ploy to coax Tayuya into stepping forward. Everything was within Shikamaru's calculations. Deep in the forest, Shikamaru and Tayuya were at a stalemate. At this point, Tayuya dared not underestimate her opponent anymore. However, the Shadow Strangle Jutsu could not fully restrain Tayuya. Shikamaru exerted all his effort to control his shadow to strangle the opponent's throat, but suddenly Tayuya bent down, and the horns on her head began to grow. The shadow also gradually retreated. Shikamaru remained vigilant, using all his chakra in a contest with the opponent. On the riverbank below the canyon, Kiba was grinding herbs for healing. Despite being covered in wounds, the situation was urgent, and he could not afford to delay any longer. On the other side, the last few of Naruto's shadow clones dissipated under Kimimaro blade. He also realized the gap in strength between himself and Kimimaro. Suddenly, the seal on the coffin was undone. After a loud boom, the coffin exploded open. As the purple smoke cleared, Naruto saw a familiar yet unfamiliar figure. Sasuke slowly retracted his cursed seal. Naruto tried to greet his friend nonchalantly, but Sasuke ignored him. Naruto's mind was filled with memories of their past together, hoping that Sasuke would return to Konohagakure, as everyone was worried. However, Sasuke just laughed to himself and then leaped towards the distance. Naruto tried to get up to chase after him, but Kimimaro appeared behind him and thrust his bone sword fiercely. At the critical moment, a flying kick blocked the deadly blade. The newcomer was Lee, who had just completed surgery. Naruto was surprised by Lee's appearance and was very concerned about his condition. However, Lee cut off Naruto's question, telling him to chase after Sasuke. "This man is mine to deal with. Didn't you promise Sakura?" After Naruto informed him of Kimimaro's abilities, he ran towards the direction Sasuke had left. Kimimaro was unwilling to let Naruto go and immediately moved to stop him. Seeing this, Lee once again stepped between them. Meanwhile, at the Konohagakure village hospital, Tsunade was listening to reports from Genma and others. The Sound Ninja 4 were formidable, and capturing Sasuke with just a few Jonin seemed unlikely. Genma suggested that Tsunade send reinforcements, but she refused. Since the attack by Orochimaru on Konohagakure, she had mobilized all Chunin and Jonin to address internal and external threats. Although there were no personnel available at the moment, she had made arrangements. At that time, Guy, having completed his mission, rushed back to the village to inquire about Lee's surgery. Upon learning that the surgery was very successful, Guy was overjoyed and burst into tears. However, hearing that Lee had disappeared, Guy nearly fainted. Tsunade speculated that Lee had gone after Sasuke with Naruto. More outrageously, Lee had taken Tsunade's bottle of alcohol, mistaking it for a medicine container. Guy was horrified, quickly stating that if Lee drank the alcohol, bad things would happen. On the other side, Kimimaro easily dodged Lee's frontal attack and then mocked Lee's movements as too straightforward. Lee continued to charge forward, but his opponent caught a flaw. However, Lee urgently called for a halt, and Kimimaro actually stopped his movements. It turned out it was time for Lee to take his medicine. He took out Tsunade's bottle of alcohol. In the past, to celebrate Lee learning Ura-Krenka, Guy took his team out for a meal. At the dinner table, Lee mistakenly drank Guy's alcohol as water. After a brief silence, a drunken Lee smashed the restaurant to pieces, displaying terrifying explosive power that even Guy noticed. Lee had drunk the entire bottle of Tsunade's alcohol, entering a strange state, and posed in a drunken fist stance. According to Guy, Lee was a natural drunken fist master. Drunk, Lee stumbled around, struggling even to stand. Seeing Kimimaro staring intently at him, Lee suddenly erupted, accelerating his steps and kicking directly at Kimimaro's face. Kimimaro, not to be outdone, leaped to dodge. Lee chased after him and continued kicking. He heard Lee say a few words. Then Lee lay back and began to snore loudly. Kimimaro approached curiously, but Lee stood up again. A series of sharp combos sent Kimimaro flying. The drunk Lee had actually learned to use the tactic of feigned retreat. Such great progress made Lee somewhat self-satisfied, and he fell down again to sleep. Kimimaro cautiously approached, but Lee suddenly jumped up and stated that he was not someone who could sleep anywhere at any time. Before he could finish speaking, Lee forgot why he was there, so he sat down to ponder. Kimimaro picked up the discarded bottle of alcohol, realizing that Lee had simply gotten drunk. Kimimaro's murderous intent surged, preparing to send Lee to another world without pain. In the forest, Shikamaru continued to extend his shadow towards Tayuya's neck, but with each inch forward, it was pushed back with greater force by the opponent. Shikamaru's chakra was nearly depleted. If the stalemate continued, the situation would only become more disadvantageous for him. The river water aggravated Kiba's wounds, causing unstoppable bleeding, so he had to leave the water and walk on land. The bone sword was already aimed at Lee's face, yet he continued to sleep deeply, undisturbed. Kimimaro no longer held back, but surprisingly, although Lee did not open his eyes, he accurately dodged every attack. He then adjusted his posture and stood up to fight Kimimaro. Kimimaro's moves became faster, but Lee's reactions were always a bit quicker, leaving Kimimaro puzzled as to why his attacks never hit. According to Guy, the more intoxicated one is, the stronger the drunken fist becomes. In the restaurant, Lee had only drunk a small cup, yet destroyed the entire place. Without harming Lee, Guy had to team up with Neji to subdue the drunken Lee. Thus, if he had drunk an entire bottle, it was unknown what terrifying state he could reach. Lee charged at Kimimaro, but he slipped and fell halfway, which rendered Kimimaro speechless. However, Lee blamed Kimimaro for his fall, and the two began fighting without further discussion. Being drunk, Lee's strength and speed had increased significantly, and his unpredictable manner of attack baffled Kimimaro. After a few rounds, even Kimimaro had to admit that Lee was strong. Eventually, Lee landed a punch on Kimimaro's chest, knocking him heavily to the ground. Kimimaro found that he could not predict Lee's movements, and in frustration, he removed his coat to activate the first stage of his cursed seal, growing sharp bone spurs from his arms. Lee launched another fierce attack, but this time it wasn't as smooth. Kimimaro's hard bones formed his strongest defense. An unguarded Lee was wounded by the sharp bone spurs, cutting his cheek and causing blood to drip onto the grass. Lee's drunkenness finally began to fade. Meanwhile, Sakon and Ukon were approaching across the water's surface. The wet patches they left on the ground indicated that Kiba was nearby. Just as Sakon and Ukon thought, Kiba was behind a large tree not far away. His stamina had reached its limits, but the scent of Sakon and Ukon was getting closer. A breeze swept across the meadow, and three late figures moved towards different battlefields. Having just sobered up, Lee felt a headache, the side effects of the alcohol not yet fully gone. Facing Kimimaro, whose bones protruded externally, Lee recalled their recent fight. Kimimaro, displaying his body, revealed his ability to control the calcium density in his body, allowing him to generate bones. While a normal human body has over 200 bones, his number of bones was not fixed. Lee thought that a broken bone was not difficult to deal with, but soon realized it wasn't that simple. The bones Kimimaro generated were terrifyingly hard. However, Lee did not give up. As he approached Kimimaro, Kimimaro performed the dance of the camellia. Rotating simultaneously, the bone spurs extending from his body scratched Lee, ultimately knocking him heavily to the ground. Shikamaru eventually fell behind in his confrontation with Tayuya, reminding him of his last fight. If Asuma had not come to the rescue, he might have died on the spot. But this time, the likelihood of someone coming to help was slim. Kiba, sensing the scent of Sakon and Ukon fading, relaxed his tense nerves. However, before he could catch his breath, a voice came from beside him. Lee struggled to his feet and called to Kimimaro, who was about to turn and leave. Understanding that he needed to hold Kimimaro off as long as possible, he tried to avoid using self-destructive techniques. But Kimimaro's strength was formidable. Thus, Lee began to circle around him rapidly, opening the first gate of 8 gates. The speed of his rotation kicked up clouds of dust, and Omotarenka was immediately initiated. However, as Lee kicked out, his foot got stuck between bones, and the opponent cleverly dissipated the power of Omotarenka, using the buffer of the bones. The Reaper seemed to be beckoning to Lee. Shikamaru could no longer maintain the bind of his shadow. Sakon quickly drew a kunai and approached, while Kiba wore a resigned smile. In an instant, the three from Konohagakure faced critical moments of life and death. However, the turnaround happened in a blink. Tayuya was suddenly blown away by a fierce wind, Sakon's kunai was blocked by an abruptly appearing puppet, and Kimimaro's bone spurs were stopped by suddenly appearing sand. The assistance appearing simultaneously at 3 battlefields was indeed the external help requested by Tsunade from Konohagakure's allied nation, Tsunagakure's sand shinobi. Gaara stepped forward, blocking the path in front of Lee. Kimimaro's 10-finger drilling bullets slowly formed, the bone bullets firing swiftly, but the next second, all were completely blocked by the shield of sand. Seeing this, Gaara couldn't help but mock Kimimaro for being too hasty, then turned to ask Lee, "Weren't you stronger and faster when you fought with me?" Lee responded quite speechlessly, "Isn't that thanks to you?" But he didn't hold any grudge against Gaara. He was puzzled why Gaara was here. Gaara explained he owed Konohagakure a favor. On the other side, Shikamaru was also puzzled. Although it was known that Konohagakure and Tsunagakure had reconciled, the rapid change in their attitude was unexpected. Temari stated that the previous attack on Konohagakure was not intentional, just like their current arrival. They were simply following orders. Shikamaru then knew that this assistance was Tsunade's masterstroke. Temari positioned herself to move against Tayuya. Hearing the flute sound start up, Shikamaru hurriedly reminded Temari not to fall for the opponent's genjutsu. Disregarding the warning nonchalantly, Temari swung her iron fan, unleashing the great sickle weasel technique. The sharp wind blades severed the thick tree trunks around them, and Tayuya's flute was not spared. Temari's wind release, both offensive and defensive, perfectly countered Tayuya, and even Shikamaru had to admit Temari was very strong. Beside Kiba was Kankuro, who, while claiming Konohagakure was too weak, battled with Sakon. As the two exchanged old times, the belatedly arriving Ukon launched a sneak attack on Kankuro. Kiba shouted a warning, but it was too late. Kankuro was already being strangled. Kiba remembered the opponent's strange ninjutsu of entering another's body. However, before Ukon could rejoice, he found that Kankuro's face cracked open. It was just a puppet. The real Kankuro had been hiding within the bandages all along. The puppet opened its 3 pairs of arms, all filled with blades, and in an instant, blood splattered. Kiba inwardly exclaimed that Kankuro, as an enemy, was indeed fearsome, but as an ally, he was extremely reliable. Ukon lay on the ground, lifeless, and thus Kankuro commanded the puppet to pounce on Sakon. Seeing this, Sakon immediately activated his cursed seal, then went to his brother's side. The brothers recombined into one. Sakon believed, judging by Kankuro's moves, that his speed and strength were ordinary, hardly a match for him. Ukon's recent mishap was merely due to carelessness, and moreover, their formidable recovery ability had already healed most of his wounds. Even now, as Kankuro and Kiba teamed up, Sakon was confident he could defeat them. Kiba was thinking of retreating, but Kankuro was resolute and quickly manipulated the puppet to launch an offensive. Ninja tools swarmed at Sakon, but hitting him was not easy. However, their every dodge was part of Kankuro's plan. Unwittingly, Sakon was trapped by the puppet, which was designed to ensnare opponents, while the crow that appeared with him was meant for attack. The crow, under Kankuro's control, instantaneously dismembered, each limb unfolding a blade. This move, skillful achievement with a human body, saw the blades deeply stab into the slots on the puppet. Following a burst of blood and a scream, Sakon and Ukon ended their wicked lives. In the forest, Tayuya, completely suppressed by Temari, could only hide and lurk. Shikamaru detailed the opponent's abilities to Temari. Genjutsu usually works by utilizing the body's 5 senses, with those using hearing being the most tricky. Now that Tayuya had distanced herself from them, it was uncertain when she would cast her genjutsu. By the time they heard her flute, it might be too late. In this way, they would still be at a disadvantage. Before Shikamaru could finish, Temari interrupted him. In her view, Tayuya's hiding was meaningless. Temari bit her finger, smeared the blood on her fan, and then performed summoning, quick beheading dance. A kamaitachi dragging a huge scythe suddenly appeared in the forest. Just as Tayuya pulled out her flute to play, she found a burst of wind rushing towards her at high speed. After the windstorm, the entire forest was nearly flattened, and the large trees were all severed at the waist. Tayuya's death was certain. Shikamaru was startled by Temari's forceful methods, but this time he truly thanked her. The continuously dripping blood proved that Lee's body was no longer suitable for high-intensity combat. Remembering the severe injuries he once inflicted on Lee, Gaara immediately proposed to take on Kimimaro himself. Lee, unwilling to admit defeat, planned to continue fighting Kimimaro. Gaara used sand to block Lee, and Lee no longer insisted. instead explaining Kimimoro's abilities to Gaara. Watching the floating sand, Kimimaro retracted the bone spurs from his body. For now, Gaara used sand as his defense, not as a type for close combat, so getting close to him would be difficult. Gaara maneuvered the sand to approach Kimimaro. Kimimaro quickly dodged and released 10-finger drilling bullets, but Gaara's sand always formed protection in time. Kimimaro realized Gaara's sand was both offensive and defensive and guessed that Gaara could only control the sand in his gourd, as he always carried the heavy gourd wherever he went. Kimimaro believed that without sand, Gaara would be helpless. Seeing that his attacks were ineffective, Gaara used Sand Shower, forming a cloud of sand gradually converging above Kimimaro's head, binding his movements. The sandstorm pelted down relentlessly. It turned out that Gaara could also create sand from the soil. The continuous flow of sand had completely enveloped Kimimaro. With a single clench of his hand, Gaara executed the sand burial, the sand flowing with blood. Then Gaara said to Lee, "This person reminds me of Sasuke. They both have the same kind of eyes, the kind that seeks to affirm their own existence." Meanwhile, Naruto had chased Sasuke to the edge of the forest, where Sasuke disappeared into a narrow stone cave. Naruto followed him into the darkness, where faint lights flickered, and he was soon faced with memories he least wanted to recall. Buried by sand, Kimimaro also remembered his past. As a member of the Kaguya Otsutsuki clan, he had been kept in darkness from childhood until he was needed for battle. Thus, fighting was the only thing he could do. Kimimaro reopened his eyes, and with the activation of the cursed seal, he forcibly broke through the sand's embrace. His skin was shredded by the sand's pressure, but at the critical moment, he created a protective layer of bone under his skin, which saved him from disaster. Gaara quickly formed hand seals and unleashed the Ascent Tsunami. A massive wave of sand spread from beneath his feet, forming a vast sandstorm that once again submerged Kimimaro. The enormous amount of sand even altered the landscape. Yet Gaara did not stop. His hands touched the ground to perform the forest sand waterfall funeral. The ground shook and the landscape changed again, leaving the onlooking Lee in awe of Gaara's improved strength. Surprisingly, Kimimaro was still alive. He remembered a foggy night in his childhood when the Kaguya clan prepared to launch a night raid on Kirigakure. The clan members all showed bloodthirsty smiles, and young Kimimaro was among them. The clan leader's only instruction to him was to annihilate everyone he encountered on his path. Just entering Kirigakure, Kimimaro encountered Zabuza and Haku. Learning they were not from Kirigakure, Kimimaro apologized and moved on. Haku recognized a familiar look in Kimimaro's eyes. It reminded him of his past self. Elsewhere, Kimimaro met Orochimaru. The Kaguya clan took pleasure in killing, but such times where one could dominate by killing alone were over. Orochimaru deduced that such a clan, if it made an enemy of a major power like Kirigakure, would soon vanish from history. Just as he predicted, only Kimimaro survived from the Kaguya clan. From then on, Kimimaro led a life of solitude. At his most confused, Orochimaru appeared before him and told him that living might not have meaning, but interesting things might be found. From then on, Kimimaro believed his mission was to protect Orochimaru and his ambitions. With this thought, the second stage of the cursed seal activated, and Kimimaro once again escaped the thick yellow sand. Naruto was still struggling with himself. As if he saw Neji appear before him, Neji told Naruto that Sasuke was still in the darkness, and if he stopped now, he would never catch up. With Neji's support, Naruto headed towards the only light in the darkness. On the other side, with the enhancement of the cursed seal, Kimimaro's appearance had completely changed. Seeing the enemy still alive, Gaara launched an attack. The sand formed a vortex that wrapped around Kimimaro layer by layer, but Kimimaro violently broke free, charging at Gaara with bone spurs, now looking like a bloodthirsty beast. Gaara manipulated the remaining sand on the ground, trying to stop Kimimaro. As the enemy approached, Gaara quickly formed a wall of sand, but it was still breached by Kimimaro's attack. Gaara was sent flying. Kimimaro taunted, "Is this the legendary absolute defense? It seems rather underwhelming." However, Gaara was not injured. The sand wrapped around him formed a protective layer. Lee tried to sneak attack from behind but was thrown by a tail whip from Kimimaro. If not for Gaara's timely support, Lee would have been seriously injured again. Lee's body was no longer fit for combat. Kimimaro decided to deal with Gaara first, pulling out his own spine to form a bone whip and executing the dance of the clematis vine. The flexible bone whip suddenly extended, sweeping towards Gaara. The next second, Kimimaro extended his left hand, condensing a bone spur from his palm, the hardest yet. But his already diseased body was near collapse, and he suddenly spat out blood. Gaara noticed this, and facing an enemy at the end of their rope, he dared not take it lightly. He immediately activated his strongest absolute defense, the Yak Shield of Shukaku Agshu. According to Kabuto and Orochimaru, there was too little information about Kimimaro's body. Although Kabuto had tried his best to treat him, his demise was only a matter of time. The Kaguya clan were warriors crazy enough to challenge a major nation. Dying on the battlefield was considered the best destiny for Kimimaro. Orochimaru thought that the act of directly confronting powerful enemies with sheer strength was foolish. Yet, it was undeniable that Kimimaro was the most formidable warrior among the Kaguya clan. The Keki Genkai granted him abilities that could serve as the strongest shield or become the deadliest spear. On the other side, Kimimaro had already begun a fierce assault on the shield of Shukaku. His bone spurs, with a sound tearing through the air, fiercely stabbed into the shield of Shukaku. Lee, who had previously fought with Gaara, knew very well the terrifying defensive power of the shield of Shukaku. Kimimaro's bone spurs, harder than steel, were filled with cracks and then disintegrated into fragments. The so-called shield of Shukaku was not merely composed of sand, but was fused with the hardest minerals from beneath the surface. Although Kimimaro's attack failed, Gaara remained vigilant. Kimimaro was well aware of his own physical condition, but he believed that the Kaguya clan would not perish with him. From the moment Orochimaru bestowed upon him the Earth Curse mark, he became a part of that man's body. To fulfill Orochimaru's ambitions, Kimimaro had come this far. Thus, even if he were to die in battle today, he would forever remain in Orochimaru's heart. Gaara wasted no more words. As he formed hand seals, the sand beneath Kimimaro began to move, slowly dragging him towards the earth's depths. Kimimaro struggled desperately, but to no avail. Gaara sent Kimimaro 200 meters below the surface, using the sand's pressure to immobilize even his fingers. After completing the ninjutsu, Gaara's expression was not one of ease, as he heard sounds from below the ground. Dance of the fern. Bone spurs consecutively broke through the earth, covering a 100-meter radius around him, but Gaara controlled the sand to lift himself and Lee into the air. Meanwhile, the dying Kimimaro reminisced about his past. He had fully participated in Orochimaru's operation to destroy Konohagakure. When he assassinated the Kazekage, he was already gravely ill, and afterward could only lie in bed. Kimimaro often felt sad for not being able to stay by Orochimaru's side until Kabuto informed him that a new vessel had been found. Kimimaro still believed deeply in the ideology Orochimaru had instilled in him. Living might not have any meaning, but surviving might lead to interesting things, just like how you found that flower, just like how I found you. Orochimaru's words were very seductive. In search of the world's sole truth, Kimimaro even sacrificed himself. At this moment, Gaara was extremely weak. He thought the battle was over, yet he still heard Kimimaro's voice ringing in his ears. Kimimaro had escaped the sand's grasp and appeared behind Gaara, raising his bone spear to strike fiercely. However, the expected scene of bloodshed did not occur. Kimimaro ultimately died at the last moment. Unbeknownst to him, Orochimaru had long given up on him. To the current Orochimaru, Kimimaro's life or death was irrelevant as long as Sasuke successfully came to his side. Everything else could be planned accordingly. The nearly killed Gaara felt somewhat disheartened. He had thought that his strength would easily crush Kimimaro, yet he was utterly defeated. Lee took on the role of a mental coach, using Guy's famous words to encourage Gaara. Luck is also a form of strength. However, Gaara did not agree. Lee immediately retorted, not allowing anyone to speak disrespectfully about his teacher. Gaara responded indifferently. So you feel angry when someone you admire is disparaged, just like the recently deceased Kimimaro. Fighting for someone important was something Gaara yearned for, but could not have. Meanwhile, Naruto had finally caught up with Sasuke in the Valley of the End. Naruto shouted at Sasuke, "Are you avoiding me?" This stopped Sasuke, who was about to leave, in his tracks. He turned to face Naruto, showing a side of himself unknown to others. Sasuke began by saying, "Is it your turn now?" Naruto remembered Sakura. At this moment, he understood that bringing back Sasuke was his responsibility, and also Sakura's trust. Now, Sasuke's demeanor was starkly different from when he was in Team 7. In the battle with Zabuza and Haku, Sasuke had even risked his life to protect Naruto. During the Chunin exams, Sasuke had also tried his best to save Sakura. Back then, he was filled with a warmth that seemed to radiate from his entire being. The stark contrast made Naruto clench his fists. He did not understand why Sasuke had changed so much. Faced with his friend's questioning, Sasuke remained cold and indifferent. He had his own path to follow, and no one had any right to criticize. "The days of fooling around with you are over. Go back," Sasuke said. Hearing this, Naruto was utterly disbelieving. The 5 of them chased Sasuke all the way from Konohagakure. Akamichi faced off against Jirobo, Neji intercepted Kidomaru, Kiba, and Sakon fell into the abyss, and Shikamaru confronted Tayuya. They were all fighting desperately to buy time for Naruto to save Sasuke. Lee, who had just recovered from serious injuries, also rushed to block the most powerful opponent, Kimimaro. Each of these selfless companions fought fiercely to retrieve Sasuke, yet the person in question seemed indifferent to their efforts. Naruto felt both heartbroken and angry. Just as Sasuke was about to leave, he suddenly saw a figure attacking from behind. Naruto descended from the sky, tackling Sasuke to the ground. "What do you think of us, your comrades from Konohagakure?" Naruto shouted, his fist swinging heavily and striking Sasuke's face. Sasuke, still indifferent, spat blood onto Naruto's face in response. Being with so-called comrades wouldn't make him stronger. This was why Sasuke had decided to go to Orochimaru. Naruto, fueled by rage, burst out, "Orochimaru killed the 3rd Hokage. How could he possibly give you power for nothing? He's only interested in your body." Naruto couldn't let Sasuke go to his death. Sasuke no longer cared about life or death. He was willing to pay any price to achieve his goal. If Naruto intended to interfere, then they would have to sever their bonds of friendship. But Naruto wasn't the type to give up easily. Even if it meant using brute force, he was determined to bring Sasuke back to Konohagakure. Not wishing to waste any more time, Sasuke lifted Naruto with one hand. Under the influence of the cursed seal, Sasuke's strength had significantly increased. He clenched his fist and smashed it into Naruto, sending him flying back and spitting blood, crashing into the lake below the statues. Sasuke was pleased with his own power. The cursed seal was merging with his body, and if fully released, his power would be immense. Naruto, sensing the drastic change in Sasuke, gasped for air as he climbed out of the water. Looking at the triumphant Sasuke, Naruto immediately charged forward again, only to be kicked away in mid-air, even losing his ninja tools bag to Sasuke. Sasuke reiterated that he had broken away from Konohagakure and embarked on a new path in pursuit of power. Persisting like Naruto was futile. During the days he lived with his brother Itachi, Itachi always used various excuses to fend off Sasuke's pestering. However, the warmth of Itachi constantly around him made Sasuke feel secure. Being acknowledged by his father was Sasuke's whole dream as a young child. But now, all that happiness existed only in memories. Naruto launched another attack, but Sasuke now had the high ground, forcing Naruto to seek cover. Sasuke's kunai hit its mark behind a rock, but it was just a shadow clone. Naruto's real body attempted to charge forward, but was caught by Sasuke using shuriken tied with wire. Naruto finally realized that Sasuke truly intended to cut all ties with Konohagakure. Flames traveled along the wire towards the immobilized Naruto. Naruto was engulfed by the dragon flame jutsu, but within a few seconds, the flames suddenly recoiled. Naruto, moving against the flow, delivered a fierce punch to Sasuke's cheek. However, Sasuke did not dodge or flinch, allowing Naruto to continue punching and kicking him. Seeing Sasuke's indifferent demeanor, Naruto couldn't accept it, but Sasuke seemed unconcerned. In Sasuke's eyes, Naruto's concerns were far less significant compared to his own inner hatred. He had grown tired of this comradeship game, and after throwing Naruto off the top of the statue, Sasuke launched a continuous assault in midair. Eventually, Naruto crashed heavily to the ground. Sasuke now only needed sheer power and hatred. Reflecting on the past, Itachi walked past his father's workplace with his younger brother. Sasuke was curious why the police force's emblem bore the Itachi family crest. Itachi patiently explained that it was their ancestors who had called everyone to establish the police force. For a long time, the Itachi family had been responsible for the village's security, and this family crest was the supreme proof of that. Full of confidence, Sasuke aspired to join the police force in the future to make his father and brother proud. When the brothers returned home, their father, Fugaku, who had been waiting, couldn't help but praise his eldest son, who had become so powerful just 6 months after becoming a chunin. If tomorrow's mission was successful, Itachi could join the Anbu. Sasuke mustered up the courage to say that tomorrow was his school entrance ceremony and hoped his father could attend. However, Fugaku was only concerned about tomorrow's mission, which was not just important for Itachi, but for the entire Itachi family. Seeing his dejected younger brother, Itachi decided to skip tomorrow's mission to attend Sasuke's entrance ceremony, as it was a ninja school tradition for family members to attend. Fugaku had no choice but to agree to go to the entrance ceremony. Afterwards, Itachi gently told his brother to remember to ice his injured left foot. At the entrance ceremony the next day, the third Hokage spoke inspiring words, and the surrounding praise for his brother put considerable pressure on Sasuke. His brother soon successfully joined the Anbu, and Sasuke, feeling urgent, could only train harder. By the end of the first term, he had the best grades in his class. Sasuke handed the report card to his father, waiting for that word of praise. But after reading it, Fugaku only said, "Keep working hard. Be as strong as your brother." Sasuke was disheartened, longing to hear the phrase he often heard his father say to his brother, "Truly worthy of being my son." That night, Sasuke was awakened by a noise. It turned out Fugaku was demanding Itachi attend tomorrow's family meeting, but Itachi refused, citing a mission. This was unacceptable to Fugaku. During the standoff, Sasuke, who had been eavesdropping outside, was discovered. The next evening, unable to hold back, Sasuke expressed to his brother that their father's attention was all on him. Itachi asked if he was tired of him, saying, "A ninja lives amid others' hatred, but you are my brother. I will always be with you." Their conversation was interrupted when several Itachi family members arrived, noting that 2 were absent from last night's meeting, including Itachi. Although Itachi was an Anbu member, this was not a valid excuse for absence, and they were more interested in last night's suicide of Itachi Shisui, who Itachi had always regarded as a brother. Despite a letter confirmed to be in Shisui's handwriting, they suspected it was maliciously forged using shuriken, as Shisui, a key figure in the Itachi family, would not likely silently commit suicide. Itachi, unable to bear it any longer, asked if they were accusing him. They did not hide their suspicions, and even warned Itachi not to betray the family. But within a short round, 3 family members lay on the ground. No wonder they suspected, since Itachi had been distancing himself from the family since joining the Anbu. But Itachi believed this obsession with family was foolish. Fortunately, Fugaku intervened in time to stop the drama. In Itachi's view, the clan members were complacent and had lost the essence of being a ninja. Fortunately, Sasuke's appearance interrupted Itachi. Itachi knelt and apologized to the clan members and his father, stating he did not kill Shisui. Fugaku also gave his son an out, and the clan members finally relented. Lastly, Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan deeply imprinted on Sasuke's mind. The scene returns to the Valley of the End, where Naruto has picked up a ninja tools bag while Sasuke prepares to show the true power of the Sharingan. Naruto immediately activates the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, and Sasuke smiles. Merely increasing numbers cannot compensate for the gap in strength. Moreover, the Sharingan can easily see through the real body. Naruto was sent flying with a kick from Sasuke, followed by a Gugakyu no Jutsu. The intense fireball dyed half the sky red, and it made Sasuke reminisce about the past again. That day had a significant impact on Sasuke. He had never seen such a look in his brother's eyes. Since then, it seemed there was a rift between his father and brother. Itachi and Fugaku passed each other in the corridor, ignoring each other as if strangers. Perhaps to fill the void inside, Fugaku actually started asking about Sasuke's school and even taught him the Gugakyu no Jutsu, a basic ninjutsu of the Itachi family. After teaching the basics, Sasuke began to perform under his father's guidance, but despite all his efforts, he could only produce a small flame. Fugaku shook his head and sighed, noting how far behind he was compared to Itachi at his age. In the Itachi family, a ninja is only considered truly strong after mastering Keitan. Thus, Sasuke began to practice the Gugakyu no Jutsu, day and night. Although the results were not ideal, he did not give up. While his mother stayed by his side, the memory of his father's disappointed look that day still pained Sasuke. His brother was like a towering mountain before him. After some time practicing, Sasuke once again approached his father, requesting Fugaku to practice with him one more time. Fugaku was about to refuse, but Sasuke claimed he had mastered the Gugakyu no Jutsu. Seeing his youngest son's bruised lips, Fugaku was moved. So, the father and son went to the lake again. Sasuke formed hand seals and concentrated chakra, and a massive fireball burst forth. Watching the steam rise from the lake, Fugaku turned and walked away. After a long pause, he spoke without turning back. "Truly worthy of being my child. Don't bring shame to our family crest. Hone your skills and shine." Sasuke finally smiled at these words, but then his father solemnly added, "Stop chasing after your brother." At noon that day, Sasuke couldn't help but ask his mother what his father really thought of him and his brother. Fugaku had finally praised him, and Sasuke was happy, but lately, the relationship between his father and brother seemed strained. Sasuke wondered if he was just a replacement for his brother. His mother explained that Fugaku cared deeply for both Itachi and Sasuke. Itachi was older and worked for the Itachi family, with Fugaku as his superior, naturally focusing on him. But Fugaku also often talked about Sasuke. Sasuke was suddenly enlightened, but did not give up on catching up to his brother. However, the gap between him and Itachi could not be bridged overnight. The contrast between his brother's gentle demeanor in the past and his actions that afternoon with the clan left a strong impression on Sasuke. Sasuke asked Itachi to practice with him that afternoon, but Itachi, busy with missions, refused. Sasuke insisted, and Itachi could only gently tap his forehead, saying, "Forgive me, Sasuke. Next time, I'll teach you." Sasuke was familiar with this gesture from his brother, confirming that the gentle brother had not disappeared. But at the same time, Sasuke was curious about the Mangekyu. He had never seen such a Sharingan before. Fugaku told Sasuke that the higher technique in the Sharingan was the Mangekyu Sharingan. In the history of the Itachi family, only a few had successfully activated the Mangekyu, but it could only be activated under certain special conditions. Sasuke did not understand what these special conditions meant, and could only keep asking why his brother had been distant lately. Fugaku simply said it was Itachi's nature to be aloof. Seeing his father did not avoid questions about his brother, Sasuke secretly breathed a sigh of relief. After taking the lunchbox from his mother, Sasuke headed straight for the practice field, still glad that there seemed to be no conflict between his father and brother. Sasuke firmly believed that the same blood flowed in him as in his brother, and he was not much inferior. The scene returns to reality. The flames had burned the surrounding trees to ashes, and Naruto used the smoke as cover to hide in the bushes. Sasuke continued to taunt and search for Naruto's whereabouts. Naruto steadied his mind and stepped out. This time, Sasuke's attacks were particularly fierce. Naruto was hit repeatedly, seemingly at a dead end. Sasuke threw a punch, and Naruto immediately spat out blood, crashing heavily into the water. Sasuke would never forget that night. Due to practicing with shuriken, Sasuke came home late, turned the corner, and saw bloodshed on the streets, with scattered ninja tools everywhere. After rushing home, he opened the door to his parents' room, only to see their bodies, scarred, and his fully armed brother. His brother's Mangekyu then activated, and the cruel carnage surrounded Sasuke. Moments later, Sasuke collapsed on the ground, exhausted, while Itachi told him that slaughtering the clan was just to test his own strength. Enraged, Sasuke charged at Itachi, but how could his strength match his brother's? Sasuke could hardly believe it. Sasuke found it unbelievable that his always gentle brother would strike him. Overwhelmed with emotion, Sasuke had no choice but to turn and run, but Itachi blocked his escape. Under the bright moonlight, Sasuke could never bring himself to believe everything his brother had done. Itachi then said that there was one condition to learn the Mangekyu Sharingan. One must kill their best friend. It was clear that he meant he had killed Shisui. Finally, Itachi told Sasuke that beneath the Naka shrine, the history and ocular techniques of the Uchiha clan were recorded, and the true secrets of the Uchiha were buried. If Sasuke could awaken the Sharingan, then there would be 3 people capable of using the Mangekyu. This was why he let Sasuke live. "If you want to kill me, then hate me, and live an ugly life just scraping by until you have the same eyes as mine. Then come before me." When Sasuke awoke, he was in a hospital room. The news of the Uchiha clan massacre spread throughout the streets of Konohagakure, and Sasuke, as the only survivor, became the focus of public scrutiny. The former residence of his family was sealed off, and the familiar faces had disappeared. Sasuke walked alone through the empty streets in the rain, his mind filled with the faces and laughter of his clan. His home was now bleak and lifeless. His mother's gentle laughter and his father's stern face would never be seen again. Loneliness and solitude surged into Sasuke's heart like a tide. Just a short while ago, his family had been happily living together. But this sudden tragedy destroyed everything. He could not accept that the mastermind behind this was his brother, whom he had idolized. From that moment, the seeds of hatred took deep root in Sasuke's heart. Recalling Itachi's words before he left, Sasuke headed to the Naka shrine and found the meeting place beneath the carpet. After reading the contents of the stone monument, his heart sank even deeper. Returning to the ninja academy, Sasuke became even more silent and isolated, finding warmth only in his memories of the past. Itachi seemed to haunt him constantly, but his significance had already changed for Sasuke, who vowed to kill Itachi regardless of the darkness ahead. Naruto woke up from the cold lake water and returned to the surface. He refused to let Sasuke sink into darkness alone. During their recent fight, Sasuke had shown no mercy. Naruto asked, "Am I no longer a comrade to you? Does nothing about Team 7 matter anymore?" Sasuke knew deep down that he could not abandon everything from his past, especially since Naruto was his best friend, which made him worthy of being defeated. Naruto did not understand what Sasuke meant, but he knew Sasuke truly wanted to fight to the death. Almost at the same moment, they both charged at each other. Meanwhile, Kakashi had just returned from a mission and learned from Tsunade that a few kids had teamed up to track Sasuke. Eager to provide support, Kakashi bumped into Sakura, who was deeply worried about her teammates. Kakashi tried to reassure her before heading to the village gate and using the Kuchiyose no Jutsu. His priority was to locate Naruto and Sasuke. Kakashi knew that Sakura had witnessed the fight between Naruto and Sasuke, which added to her anxiety. Afterward, Kakashi had a heart-to-heart with Sasuke, trying to persuade him to abandon his quest for revenge. He had taught Sasuke the Chidori to protect the most important people, yet now Sasuke was using it against Naruto. He leaped towards their location, but whether he would arrive before their fight ended was still uncertain. On the other side, Naruto and Sasuke had already begun their deadly combat. Sasuke had stolen a kunai from Naruto's waist and created distance with a free fall, then threw the kunai. Naruto immediately countered with a shuriken. Sasuke stopped by a stone pillar to launch a Chidori, while Naruto stood on the lake surface, preparing a Rasengan. As water splashed around them, their strongest ninjutsu collided, creating a dazzling display of electricity and churning the lake. A curtain of water enveloped them, and both were knocked back into the water. Sasuke was the first to stand, grinding his teeth in frustration that Naruto could withstand his full-powered Chidori. Remembering their previous clash on the hospital rooftop, the terrifying gap on the back of the water tower, and Naruto's growth to match his strength was something Sasuke could not accept. According to Kakashi's advice, Sasuke could only use Chidori twice more. Continuing to clash with Naruto like before was meaningless. Lying on the water surface, Naruto finally realized that Sasuke truly intended to take his life. Pain and anger seared through his heart as Sasuke made up his mind. Sasuke decided to start with ordinary attacks to force Naruto to reveal an opening, then finish him off with Chidori. He activated his cursed seal and quickly used hand seals to unleash the Phoenix Sage fire technique. Countless fireballs rushed towards Naruto, who hurriedly dodged in midair. However, Sasuke quickly closed the gap and swung a punch at Naruto, sending him flying once again. At that moment, their hearts communicated. When Naruto first learned that Sasuke was also alone, he wanted to talk to him and become friends. But he didn't, feeling the gap between them was too great, so he regarded Sasuke as a rival instead, striving to catch up to him. Even after they became teammates, Naruto couldn't express his feelings openly. When Sasuke expressed his desire to fight with him, Naruto was thrilled, taking it as recognition from Sasuke. By then, they had become friends. But now, it seemed Sasuke truly wanted to kill Naruto, causing tremendous turmoil in Naruto's emotions. Red chakra began spreading around him, and features of Kurama started to manifest. Sasuke gathered his Chidori and thrust forcefully, splattering blood. Naruto was still caught in his sorrow.